What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the Panels on Pages podcast. My name is Dalibor Zujovic. I am your indie hype man, and today I am joined by Hamza Pečenković. I got that right? Fellow
Yep.
Balkan, and we're going to kick this one off with the classic fashion. We're going to have a little Šljivovica. You may not have yours, but I'm going to have one for you.
I wasn't prepared for this.
It was a last minute idea. I had my wife pick it up. I didn't even have any in the house, which is a little disgraceful.
What brand is it?
It is Manastir. So it's Bosnia.
Oh yeah, of
So
course. Yeah,
it's the good stuff.
I thought that yeah, it looked very familiar. That's amazing.
And she's like,
I might have some.
she's like, they have silver or they have gold. I'm like, well, gold is best. You must. So if you have some, if you want to join me, please do, my friend.
Oh, it would take me too long to find it.
Well,
Na zdravlje.
Oh my God, I've missed it. It's so tasty. God, it's been too long. And when I don't remember how it tasted, that's been too long, man. Wow, that is so good.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a problem. Because I told her, I'm like, get a little bit, like, give me like a small bottle. And she's like, well, they have the big one. And I was like, well, then get the big one, Maybe that's why I don't have any in the house. Maybe I went through it too fast last time.
Where do you get it over there?
We have a, what's it called? I think she went to I was gonna say she went to Benny's, but no, I think she went to like a liquor store she happened to be by. She was out doing a thing, and I was like, hey, get me some. And she's like, you're lucky. There's a liquor store like 5 minutes away. And I was like, perfect. It's fate.
That's amazing.
Man,
Are you wearing a shirt that says Spread Ivar?
It says Spread Ivar, not hate. This is one of my Christmas presents.
What?
Yeah.
Why
man.
Is this the most Bosnian podcast I've ever been on, or at least Yugoslavian, next Yugoslavian?
This is listen. I'm all Balkan, man. I'm all Balkan. That's why my TikTok tag is Pravi Dalibor.
Yeah.
That's like I'm the real one, like I was raised in Bosnia, but I'm half Serbian. I was born in Macedonia and I lived in Croatia. Like I don't even fucking say that I'm Bosnian. When people ask me, like I was wearing this to an event and somebody was like, oh, where are you from? I was like, I'm Balkan. Like I'm everything. I'm everything. I'm all over the place.
That's amazing. I mean, that's so true for a lot of us over there. I mean, my dad's side of the family is Croatian, so it's very common. Like you can't really be from one place.
Right.
Especially if you were born during or slightly right after, Yugoslavia kind of started to fall apart.
Yeah, exactly. Like it was all happening. All of it.
Mm-hmm.
It was it's funny as hell too. I mean, funny in a really depressing way, but I was at work the other day and like you dick around, you watch YouTube and shit. And this guy that I watch, I forget his damn name every time. I watched like 15 of his video this week. Anyway, he does like these video essays, and he did a whole ass video about Bosnia, and my dumbass watched it at work. I'm like holding back. I'm like, fine, it's fine.
Oh, yeah.
Like I'm sitting there because I'm like, what the fuck? Why did I watch this at work? Like, what's wrong with me?
Yeah. I just came back. I was just over there. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome, dude. It's been too fucking long. It's been too fucking long for me. I went in 2001, which like right before fucking 9/11. Like we went in July.
Yeah.
Like so we came back and then all that shit happened. And then what's funny is my wife's been there more recently than me, and she's American. She's like as American as it fucking gets. Like and it's like
impressive.
yeah, I always say this, and I want to give a little love to my wife on the podcast, but like I always say, like I fucking lucked out. I got the best of both worlds. Like my wife is American, she's from fucking Minnesota, like about as middle American as you can get, and but she studied over there, so she studied in Croatia and Serbia and Bosnia. Wow. Like she knows more about the like broad culture shit than I do. She'll bring shit up, and I'm like, I don't know, I was fucking 7 when I left, so I don't know that. Like,
Yeah.
like I don't know those things. But it's funny because so she was a teacher, so she would teach Serbo-Croatian, which I fucking Nush. She would teach it to
Yeah. Yep.
people, and she would be like, "Is this how you say it?" And I'm like, "What are you like? What's this word you're using?" And she would say it, and I was like,
Because your
in my head,
vocabulary.
yeah, in my head, I'm like, I'm trying to like extend words that I know. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm like, that's the word, but like that's how you write it, but no one says it that way. Like, there's always shorter.
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
Imo is fucking 3 words. Like,
Yeah. Yeah. Yep. Yep. Okay. It always cracks me up when you like Medved, right? Or Medjid.
dude, I saw there's a whole thing that is a whole fucking like fucking, pardon the reference, a pot of gold there, because look, there's a video on YouTube. I will find it and I will send it to you. That term, and the fact that that term is like almost the same but so very different in all the like Eastern European countries. it
Mhm.
it was like, it goes all the like fucking far back, like hundreds of years back, and it was basically like, it is a word that they came up with to describe, it's like saying God instead of saying God's name, right? It's like, it's a word that they came up with because they didn't want to say the word of the actual thing because it was like invoking it, right? So it was this like old wives' tale shit that it was like, oh,
Yeah.
if you
Yeah.
say
A
it,
lot of
like
that.
it'll come.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's like they came up with Medved and like variations of that throughout all of Eastern Europe. It's fucking crazy.
Interesting.
Like, I was like, you know what? I'm like, that sounds like some Eastern European shit. Like, that sounds
Yeah.
like that sounds like that's on the same level as like Promaya, you know, like
Yeah. Yeah. All the
like, oh,
folk tales are, you know.
it's, yeah, dude, it's such a, it's an interesting, I mean, fuck, I just found out, not just, but like in the last 10 years, I found out, I didn't even know anything about like the Bosnian pyramids, like that whole, that's
Yeah.
such a ridiculous whole thing. And like the dragon eggs, which are the stones, like
Yeah.
all of that shit, man. Like, that shit is so crazy to me. Like, I'm like, that's wild, but at the same time, I'm kind of like, why is it a perfect circle? Like, that's fucking weird. Like,
Yeah. That is weird. It's very weird. Some questions that definitely need to be answered with the pyramids, but I
I'm
am not
saying,
going to get into that. This is not the podcast for
that's a different
that.
podcast. We do we do a tangents podcast where we just go off. So we'll do that on
we
that one.
should we should do a Balkan podcast.
Oh my God, we should.
It would be great.
We should. We should. We should. We should just call it. It's what's like my favorite lyric. I like deeply fell into the like Balkan rap pop scene like
Oh,
five
wait, hang
years
on.
ago.
Are you a Yalla Brat fan? Baba Kareli?
Yeah. It's funny because you say yeah,
Yes,
but like,
dude.
so I was arguing with my cousin about this. He's like, it should be Yala. I'm like, but he
Oh,
says Jala, like it's Jala Brat, right?
yeah.
That's what he says.
I don't know how to say
And he's like, it should be
it.
Yala. If it's if it's Bosnian, it should be Yala. I'm like, I agree, but like that's his fucking pseudonym. Like, I don't know. Oh no, don't yell at me about it. Like,
I
it's
love
like,
that guy.
dude,
A
he's
lot
fucking
of my
fantastic.
Bosnian family members are like, "Oh, why are you listening to this?" And I'm like, "It's amazing.
It's fantastic. It's fantastic.
There's
I
so many
more than
different
anything, I would have
influences."
just I like we got to do a podcast about that at least. That's fucking fantastic. We will absolutely get into that. But this podcast, Panels on Pages, is about comic books, promoting indie creators, and you, my friend, have just recently launched a Kickstarter for your book called The Crystal Compass. Give us a quick breakdown. What is the book about?
Uh, there's no quick breakdown. There is.
I feel you on
Uh,
that.
yeah, teenager. So Nico, he finds a crystal compass, and it takes him to a different world, and he has to find his way back, or choose to fight with the people that are there. We caught in this perilous war, and it deals with uh, refugee themes as we would, and finding family in places you don't expect, and finding a home in places that you don't expect. So a lot of kind of what you and I have lived through, is kind of what the whole book is really about, but it's all wrapped up in a nice fantasy adventure tale. So
Love that. Love that. That's, Yeah, the term found family is something I didn't know up until about 3 or 4 years ago when I started listening to another podcast, which is fantastic if you're an X-Men fan. It's called Jay and Miles Explain the X-Men. It is a fantastic podcast. But that is when, because they do like really intricate, deep like examinations of all the themes and everything in those books. And found family that's what the first time I heard the term found family. And I was like, oh shit, that's why I love X-Men. Like that's precisely
Yeah,
why I love X-Men, because it's like, I had to leave my family, so I had to kind of piece together my own. So like found family, like it made perfect sense. As soon as it like coalesced in my brain, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm gonna ride for X-Men till the day I die. Like that's never gonna change. So
yeah,
yeah, found family
yeah.
is a big factor of our lives for sure, right? I mean, like, were you so
Yeah,
I don't how
absolutely.
old are you? I'm 39. How old are you?
I'm 35, so
Oh yeah,
we're
so
right there. I was
yeah, we're right there.
9 when we. Yeah,
So yeah, I left by no, as far as I'm aware, by no, purposeful means, but I left like 2 weeks before shit started in my town. So the town I'm from,
that's crazy.
my mom was working in Croatia, so she was like, "Hey, I'm gonna have you come to Croatia with your cousin, my oldest cousin," and she's like, you got to get out of there before anything happens." And then later, years later, I find out that like 2 weeks later, shit started there. And it's like we went through the mountains, and it was this whole fucking thing of how we got out. But it's like it's a crazy thing to like remember, and like remember like the things that you remember that are like crazy and wild about it, but then the things you don't remember, because like
Yeah,
about a year ago when reports started coming in from Ukraine, and I heard the sounds of shelling again, is when it like triggered legitimately triggered me, because I didn't know that I remembered the legitimate sounds of
hmm,
shelling. And that shit fucked me
yeah,
up, because I was driving when that happened. I was like, oh shit. I did not know those feelings were in there. Like I didn't
yeah,
know those
yeah,
memories were rattling around, because that was a crazy fucking, I mean, that was a crazy fucking period in that region's history. Like
yeah, absolutely. I
you were
mean,
9 when you left, so that you left after me then, because I was about 7 or 8 when
we
I.
we left after the war. Yeah,
Oh, okay.
it was 97. Yeah,
Okay.
so I mean, it was like the same kind of same. The sound for me is the distant gunfire, like that kind of tack tack tack, tack
Yeah, yeah,
tack
yeah.
tack, right? I used to not be able to fall asleep when I was younger, and I started clicking my teeth to the rhythm.
Oh shit.
Oh, I did a Balkan accent. Whoa.
It's gonna come out today, my friend.
Well, not I don't know. I don't have the rakia, so
Man,
um, but
that's
yeah,
crazy.
so
That's crazy. That like, so you started clicking your teeth like that.
yeah, and then I would fall asleep, and I remember dentist was like, "Hey, do you do you grind your teeth or whatever?" And I was like, "No, I don't think so." And then years later, it all kind of came together. I was like, "Oh yeah, it's the pattern of like distant gunfire," and it's crazy, man. It's a you that stuff doesn't go away. It just gets repressed, right? And
Right.
so weird things pull it out. Fireworks for some people,
Yeah.
smells for some people. I had the first time I went back to Bosnia, I had like almost like a shock because we went back to the house that we lived in,
Oh
and
wow.
the people that moved in there didn't fix the shrapnel holes in the wall.
Oh
Uh,
wow.
and I saw that, and it was just like all of it just came back, and like I had the whole panic attack, anxiety thing.
Damn.
Jumped in my cousin's golf, and I was like, "We need to go. We need to go."
Yeah, because it's like it's either a Golf or it's a Mercedes from 1995, right? Those
Yep,
are the
yep.
only two options in it.
Or the very rare Lada, right? Like there's a couple.
Which one?
Lada, the Russian, there it's like a
Oh shit. I
uh,
don't I don't remember that one. Yeah, no, it was all it
Ladas.
was all Golfs and like that fucking, what, 325 fucking Mercedes from
Mhm.
1995, the like the Mercedes body style that everyone
Yep,
fucking thinks of.
with the bead seat like covers.
My God, yes, the fucking bead covers.
Yeah.
Oh man.
This
But
is
yeah,
this just keeps turning into a Balkan podcast.
it does.
I
But you know
love it.
what?
No,
You
it's
know what? But
totally
it's
fine.
part of it, right? It's part of it, right? Like it all
Totally.
it like I'm sure that has, you know, consciously or subconsciously informed how you write and what you write.
Yep. I wouldn't, yeah, without those experiences, I would not have written this script. It's all wrapped up into kind of like a, you know, Star Wars-esque fantasy, but it deals with real, you know, we things that kids all over the world are still dealing with today, right? Like
For sure.
that we kind of tend to not look at here in the States, but you just peel back that curtain a little bit, and these are real problems that kids need to understand are happening all over the world. And you know, you're not being pulled into a war in another dimension, but the war's at home.
Yeah.
And it's very real and very scary.
Yeah.
So,
And in some places like America, getting closer every fucking day, apparently.
yes.
Like we're going to keep fucking measuring weapons with other major world powers, you know?
Yeah.
But I love the concept. The art is beautiful, man. I got to tell you,
Thank
man,
you.
like the art is fantastic. Is this something that you have been like, when was like your first itch? Like when did you first like get into comics and like start doing this stuff?
So I that's a really great. So like I started drawing really in like, you know, in the war, right? Like I remember drawing by candlelight because we had no, you know, we had no power. And I always loved drawing, and I always just like drew tanks and stuff like that, all the stuff that you see. And when we moved here, I think it was fourth grade. I was kind of the nervous kid, right? I didn't want to hang out with anybody, so I stayed inside during lunch in my classroom. And I had this really great teacher, and she like just one day she like showed up. She's like, "Hey, I bought you this drawing book. I always see you drawing it. You know, I think you might like it." And it was how to draw the Marvel way, the old
Bro,
John
I have
Buscema book.
that book. I
Yeah,
have that book.
yeah. And I just started drawing, right, and learning about, you know, how to start a figure from, right, like just page one, like,
Yeah,
and just
yeah.
do it. And that really set me on a path of like enjoying comics, seeking out comics to read, right? Uh, Unbeknownst to me, there's a comic book store 2 blocks away from my house on my way to school called Comic
Nice.
Inc. In Culver City. To be fair, it's a little out of the way, but on my way to school, but it was, you know, not even, it was negligible. Right? And I just snuck in there once, right? Started looking at the shelves. The guy that worked there, Jason Thompson, still a really great friend of mine. Um, we have a joke that he raised me because I spent so much time at that store when I was a kid that you'll see him on my social posts, and he'll call me like son. It's a joke, but anyway. And so that is really where like my love for comics and trying to draw comics started. So I was probably about middle school, high school. I really started to kind of understand what it meant to draw comics, right? Like just
Sure.
trying to chase that as like a dream or whatever. So I would just constantly, you know, do little comic strips or whatever. I mean, I filled sketchbooks up monthly. I don't know how
Wow.
my single mom kept up with the art supplies, but she, you know, I think it was 10th grade. She bought me my first drafting table. I was a huge Transformers fan. I loved Transformers comics. I loved drawing Transformers. So on DeviantArt, I was part of this big Transformers art group, like fan art group. And
Nice.
then I don't know if you remember when Dreamwave was around. They were
Yeah,
doing
yeah.
all the Transformers comics. Yeah. So just hanging out with some of the people that were involved in those comics, making those comics, like Josh Burcham, still another good friend of mine. He colors for IDW now and just had a series that came out earlier last year. He was the first person I reached out to color my book was Josh, and
Oh wow.
he was like, I just got this great like solo project with IDW. I can't tell you about it, but here's some other names. And so that's how we got Amaya Diaz, who colors the book now, and she's fantastic. She makes my lines look beautiful. I every time I get a page from her, I'm like, yep, just keep going.
No notes. No notes.
Yeah, I mean, every now and then you know, it's a little bit, but she's great. She gets the assignment right. She's a huge fan of the same type of like the same type of story, that kind of theme of very highly saturated colors and very cartoon, that I think lends very well to my style, because I have kind of like an manga inspired, I think, a little bit. It's it
Yeah.
definitely,
Like a
yeah,
fusion style. I
yeah.
think a lot of artists these days. It's funny because like that word for some reason seems to have like gotten lost in the discussion of like styles of art. But like I remember Joe Mad Herrera being like my number one favorite dude in the 90s.
Yep.
And when I like found out that that was fusion style, like that his like anime and manga inspired and influenced comic book style was like it was this combination. I was like, I'm like, that's it. That's exactly it. I'm like, that is my because it has the sharpness and the like clean line work, but it also has the detail, which is that was like the thing that always kind of like threw me off about like on the early days of DeviantArt. I'd be looking around and be seeing people that are doing like strictly like they're making single pieces that are meant to like from a style perspective of like this is going to be an anime. So there's no heavy detail, there's no like deep musculature or anything like that. It's just like straight lines, like
Mhm.
really like clean, but very simple. And I was
Yeah.
like, man, I'm not like I like this, but like to a point, because like there's not a lot of detail, and I really like the full piece. I want like I've never been a huge fan of like the Dragon Ball Z style because it's always like very blocky, very straight lines. But it's like when I see people who have a more fusion style do Dragon Ball Z characters, I'm
Dude,
like, that shit is fire.
yeah.
You
Have
get
you
that, you get
seen
those like sharp, like some cross hatching and those muscles and stuff. That's when it gets real good.
have you seen the fan film that came out like a couple years ago, where that guy like did the, like, it was all
That
in his own
thing's
style?
insane.
It's incredible.
I
Like,
saw that. I saw that, and I was like, I might watch that. I'm be honest. I might watch that because,
yeah.
like, for me, I was never like a deep fan of Dragon Ball. Like, I think I was too old, and I didn't have cable. So I think whenever it came out, whenever it like really popped off, I wasn't like in the zeitgeist of it
Yeah.
because everybody was like, "Oh, Dragon Ball, Dragon Ball," right? And by the time I got to it, I was a little older already. So it didn't catch me. Like it didn't catch me on that like young man, like the
Yeah.
demographic. It didn't catch me when it should have. So when I watched it, I was like, I'm looking for entertainment. I'm looking for a good story, but I'm coming out of X-Men the animated series, Spider-Man the animated
Yeah.
series, Gargoyles, which I think is
Incredible. Yeah.
deeply underrated to this day.
Yeah.
And it's like I'm coming out of that, and I'm like Dragon Ball Z. I'm like, I mean, it's cool, but like, why is he yelling for 2 episodes? Like I don't really understand what's going
Yeah.
on. Can we move on? Can we
Yeah.
get to the next scene? And that's the thing that I didn't get um for a long time, and to a point, I still don't. Like I've seen a lot of it. Somebody said that there's like there's a name for it, but there's like a cut where they pull all the excess like power ups and they pull
Really?
all the fluff. Basically, it's just like a streamlined. I think one of the like recent releases. That's what it was. They released like a specific version of Dragon Ball Z. It's like way shorter. It's like 50% as long. But they cut a
Yeah.
bunch of stuff out, and it's just like here is the show. And I was like, I might watch that because that's like because a lot of the things I didn't like was like the nonsense. Like there was just like a lot of
Yeah.
nonsense in that series, and it's funny because people are always talking about the Dragon Ball Z being this like masterpiece, and I was like, I feel like you guys are coming at it from a really nostalgic point of view. Like
Yeah.
I love Beast Wars. That show was not good. Like objectively, we could sit down and talk about all the bad shit on that show, but that show was awesome. Like,
Yeah. Yeah. I'm glad you pulled that out. Yeah. I mean, that's a great show. And I have a similar kind of route too. Like, there's a lot of anime going around me too, but I didn't have cable. We're poor immigrants. There's like four of us living in a one-bedroom apartment in LA, like no cable. And my buddy Darko, who's from Sarajevo, lives in Zagreb. His mom, they had cable. They lived right next door to us, just on the other side, like of the alley. And I would go over there and I'd catch Toonami, and I'd like both of us would try and watch Dragon Ball, but like something about it just didn't click that. Like I never followed along the storylines. I dig the art. I can get into it, but just I don't know, spend time at the comic book store. I remember Jason was like, "Oh, you like Dragon Ball? You should read Lone Wolf and Cub." I was like
Wow.
10.
Wow.
Yeah. And
Bro, I haven't even
so
read that, but I understand the context of that statement because I know what that book is like contextually.
yeah,
Wow, that is a
I
pivot.
have yeah, like my like treasured collection is like Samurai Executioner, Lone Wolf and Cub, like all these Goseki Kojima and Kazuo Koike books. Like that's the Japanese stuff that I like. Not to say that there's anything bad about Bleach or whatever,
Right, right.
like that stuff definitely has its place, and it's in most cases very beautifully drawn, and the anime is fantastic. They are, whatever it is, but
Yeah, yeah.
I like the classic manga, like where that sort of more traditional manga style.
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
know if that's the right term, but yeah,
Where you get some of the details and you like
yeah,
the zip
Berserk, right?
the like the tone work. The tone work, like that stuff, I couldn't even wrap my head around it until like later in high school. Like understanding like what the halftone stuff that they didn't even understand. I'm like, I don't understand. Like, why don't they just like my thought was like, why don't they just color it, right? Like what just
Who's the
color it.
cut at it?
Yeah. Just throw some color on it. Like, what's the problem? But it was just like, now I understand the context of like really that stuff is kind of like I don't want to say slave labored out into the mess, like, but it kind of is.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it
It,
kind of is. Yeah,
it's like that's why there's so much of it. That's why, oh, they come out in these larger volumes and it's like people are flocking to that because it's like you get a lot of story for the money, right? But at the same time, like, what is the cost of that? Like the labor, the
yeah,
human cost of that. That's the thing that a lot of people who are like, oh, manga's like outselling comics. Comics are dying, blah, blah, blah. And I've just flat out like refused to get in that argument because I'm like, manga just means comments, bro.
yeah,
And from people who have been to Japan, they're like, yeah, there's a manga museum, and the American comics are there, and it says American manga. Like, you're
yeah,
not making an argument by saying comics are better or manga is better. Like, yes, they're the same. There's just
yeah,
different styles, but it's just like there's definitely different approaches. But at the same time, that's like saying, oh, okay, I like Joe Madureira, where it's like pencils, inks, colors versus I don't know Salvador La Rocha, who I really also like. But then like I was kind of meh when they did pencils to colors. They skipped
yeah,
inks, and I was like, I see where it's good, but I also see where it's kind of like it looks a little messy. So
yeah,
I wasn't loving a lot of it. So it's different approaches and different styles to like the same medium, like because there's been Western comics like they used to do what was it called? They used to do X-Men Universe, and it was like here are the 4 issues or 5 issues that came out of the X-Men books in one book. And I honestly think they should do that now. I think that's kind of how they should package it, because it's like you could get someone like me if you throw together a prestige format. This is this month's stories. I
yeah,
might not wait for the trade because I'm a
yeah.
trade guy. I don't like I literally just put these over here. I didn't mean to get them. It was a Kickstarter from a while back, and I thought I just got the was it cards or something or the digital copies? I forget what it was. Oh, no. It was the digital pack, right? But it was like their whole
Yeah,
digital library, but I didn't catch that it also had 2 physical copies. I don't collect singles. These came out. I was like,
yeah,
damn it. like
yeah. I never know what to do with them,
I'm
and
sure
I
they're
don't.
great, but like it's the medium. So for me, it's trades.
Yeah,
And for if Marvel and DC, if they started doing here's like if they did a Batman, I don't know, anthology or I don't know what to call it, but like a Batman like manga, if you will, where it's like all the stories from that month in one book.
yeah,
It doesn't have to be like crazy high quality paper, like just good enough.
yeah,
Because like they did the prestige format for a couple of recent anthology things. Like they did Wildcats, the like anniversary edition, or the Wildstorm, the like 30th anniversary of Wildstorm or something. Yeah,
oh,
it was like it's
cool.
like an all in one, and they did like a new story of Wildcats because they were about to launch the new Wildcats or main series. They did the same thing for it was Tales from Earth 6. That one I did pick up. It's behind me because I have the Just Imagine Stan Lee creating DC
Yep,
Universe omnibus. So I was like, this is the like bookend for that. Like this
yeah,
is perfect. Like
yeah,
this is gonna go in here. And the same, I think if I'm not mistaken, I think what dropped this month was the milestone 30th, which had I think that's all because it's like a bunch of like I think it's like 5 or 6 different stories, and I think that's another prestige format, and it's like prestige format I could put on a bookshelf. I don't have to
Yep.
figure out boxes, and because that's the thing for me is space, right? I had boxes
Yep.
at one point, but it's like space. They take up a lot of
Yeah,
freaking space.
I hate the boxes, man. I hate the long boxes, and I don't like. I don't know, floppies. They feel cheap, and it's almost like if we're gonna go cheap, do it that way. Like, exactly how you're saying. Give us 5 stories, like
Yeah,
make, making a nice little hardbound back. You know,
yeah, like
not hardbound, but
just just good enough. I still won't say it because I think I don't want to call this is an indie creator, so I'm like I give a lot of leeway to indie creators, especially when it's self-published, because I know that they like from a little bit of personal experience, I know that there is a lot that goes into that shit. So like a little decision here and there, like the cardstock quality of the cover could affect your overall price a lot.
yeah,
Um I got a book and it was a trade paperback, and I took it out and I was so disappointed in the paper quality of the cover. Like it was like 2 steps up above floppy. And I was like, this is it's
yeah,
too weak. It doesn't
yeah,
feel right. But it's like if they did something along those lines where it's like it's not quite cardstock, but it's definitely not like a floppy comic cover,
yeah,
and throw, I don't know, 5 or 6 issues in it, sell it for $6. It's the same book, right? Like it's the same books that you're selling individually. Those people who want to buy those books individually, they can.
yeah,
Maybe, I don't know, maybe you who knows, maybe you put more ads in it or whatever. Like you make them figure out. Like I feel like sometimes I run these ideas for the mainstream, and it's like, y'all have whole teams. How has no one come up with this?
yeah,
How has no one thought of this shit? Like I'm just
yeah,
spitballing here, and I feel like I'm coming up with some decent stuff. And there are, Marvel and DC, and all these people have these massive like marketing teams. No one's come up with, hey,
yeah,
people like buying manga with 6 fucking chapters in it. Let's throw a book together with 6 chapters and see how much it sells. Like,
yeah, yeah. Just once. If it doesn't do well, there you go. Now we
yeah,
know.
like, oh, like you want to
But
do, because they do what is it, the X-Men Unlimited, and I think that's like an opportunity that's massive, because that's like the infinite, the online comic right now is like 50-60 issues in. It's like I'm
yeah.
behind, which is crazy, because I was so caught up until they started running that, and I was like, I didn't know this shit was coming out weekly. Like I missed so many issues.
No, I'm glad you brought that up, because that's one of the reasons why I decided to do my book the way that I did. I don't like floppies. Like I don't like single issues, and a lot of the times when I bring my project up, people who are in the industry, or editors, whatever, whoever I've talked to
Yeah,
about
yeah.
the book, they're like, why don't you just release it in single issues? I'm like, I don't want to read that. Like, why would, like, and I
And
don't want to put it up like that. Like this is book 1. We have 3 books planned. I want these things to sit on a shelf, and I want them to have heft, and I want them to feel like when I sit down and read this, that I you got a story. You didn't. I mean, I don't know. I read pretty quickly. I could get through a single issue of a comic in minutes. Like,
I won't lie. I won't lie. There was a period when I was reading the singles that I even when I had a big stack, I'd be done in like an hour. I'd be like,
yeah,
all right, cool. Now I just got to put these away. And then like once in a while, whip out a single just to like
yeah.
peruse.
And I
And
know
it's,
just recently I bought Avatar. So Dark Horse released a collection of Avatar: The Last Airbender hardcovers,
right.
and those were oh my gosh, what is her name? I'm gonna hate myself for whatever. The artwork in it is beautiful, and there's like actually what they did was they did like an oversized thing, and then they put the pages in there like at a normal size that they would have printed. So there's all this white space around it, but then they put creator comments in the white space, and I was like, this
Ooh.
is dope. It's like I'm watching a DVD like extra scene while I'm reading the
Yo,
book, and I
that's
was like,
fire. Dude, that's
yeah,
that to me, that's like scratching an itch, man. That I am a process
yeah,
junkie. That's why
yeah.
I like snagged every piece of process. Like when I had you in the magazine last time, I was like, I'm
Oh,
snagging
thank
every
you.
piece of process like that I can, because I love this shit. Like I love
I
seeing like
should.
I like the fact one of the like longest standing process things that I will always bring up because I think it's fucking hilarious from the Wildcats, Maul, the giant fucking horns he has on his back. Jim Lee created that in the like when he was 7 years old or some shit. And
That's awesome.
he's like, why does he have like horns on his back? Because I thought they were cool when I was 7.
Yeah.
And I was like, yes, that's the best fucking reason. Because it's like he's been working on this shit for so long that like when he was like 25 or whatever, when he made when they made Image Comics, he was just like, I still think it's cool. Fuck it. Like
Yep.
there's no like that's I love that like behind the scenes process shit. Like one of my favorite DVD commentaries is the first Transformers movie. If you haven't heard it, just
Amazing.
watch it's fucking hilarious. It's one of the funniest fucking behind the scenes things you'll ever watch because like there's a whole thing. The guy who ended up animating the first transformation in the movie, the helicopter, the way he was hired, one of the best stories I think in all of film. Like it's hilarious. But like that, I love that shit. So like that's super cool. Like the fact that they have those notes, that's really fucking cool, dude.
And so to me, I think to kind of stand out in the market, right? Like we talk about that a lot, I think, in comics. It's like how do you do the next thing, or how do you bring people back to reading comics? Because pirating is an issue, and people are reading stuff on their phones that's a different format, like Webtoon.
Yeah.
And I think getting creative with, it's like is it the master editions? Is that where they're releasing like the oversized, like at print size? So you'll get like the pencils on one page, and then like the inks are on like the transparent. Have you seen those?
No.
Like they did it for a couple of Daredevil books. I know. I mean, they're gorgeous.
Dude,
But
I have not heard about that. Sounds awesome.
yeah, I'll send you a link when we're done. But they're incredible, and they sell out. Excuse me. And you're like, you gotta like know a guy to know a guy, right? You like tell your comic book shop, you're like, hey, I need you to order this for me. It can't go to anybody else. Here's the money now. Like, but they're like $150 for like this beautiful hardcover. Like, I mean, they're gorgeous, dude. And that's the sort of stuff that I think will keep comics around, and really, I mean, like my goal is to I would love if once we hit our funding goal, I would love to do a stretch goal of printing a hardcover, because I mean, I love trades, but you could get bad paper quality. And one of the things that when I was researching printers, I was like, I need this to be like a 150-pound, like, like hard stock. I want to have, embossed, spot UV for the logo. This can't just be like a trade paperback, like you said, where it's just like this kind of flimsy, like, you leave it out in the sun for 2 hours and the color fades situation like this. I need this to be a beautiful experience. And I think that a little bit of that is just from, I'm a graphic designer professionally.
Right.
Print is very important. I think it's how we interact with that medium. And so it's tactile. I want people to have that kind of, that touch memory, right? Like, oh, I grabbed this paper and it felt great. And so they have that experience. And so they're not just looking at pretty artwork. They're also having like a tactile experience with the book. And I mean, I love books, and that's part of Nico's character. He literally like in the first part of the book, he carries around a hard case of books with him. And so
nice.
When I wrote it, I thought, I was like, this is kind of stupid. I don't think anyone's going to really identify with this. But then the more I talk to people who are, fans of print and fans of books,
Oh yeah.
They're like, I kind of have this like atmospheric book situation where they're not just like on shelves, they're just like everywhere. And I was like, yeah, that's Nico. This is our character. He lives his life vicariously through books, and then gets to live this adventure. And I think a lot of comic fans are like that. And so I'm hoping people can identify with him, even though he's a little kid. But
I mean, I think that regardless of age, and I think that's a big one, like the characteristics, like bringing a real character to life, not just, here is, superhero number 6, like having those details, like having those little niche things that just kind of bring you in and be like, oh, I'm kind of like that. Like I get that.
Yeah.
I get where that's coming from. I think that's super important because I've read many fucking books, graphic novel or otherwise, where it's like I don't really care about this character. Like, why do I give a shit about this character? They bring in somebody and it's like they come through and they achieve their plot point and then they leave, and I'm like,
Yeah.
cool, whatever. But it's like when you have someone that you can identify with, even especially if it's like circumstances that you don't know, right? That you don't understand, especially like he's getting pulled into this otherworldly adventure. Like, not as far as I'm aware, none of us are getting pulled into any kind of otherworldly adventure. So like, but being able to connect to those little things about him, like I recently listened to the Nine Princes of Amber. The reason I listened to that, it's the fucking dumbest story ever. When I had my boxes and boxes of fucking comics, I had comic book version. They're prestige format books from like the early, like super early 90s. I remember one being Guns of Avalon and one being Nine Princes in Amber. And like early internet days, I like put it together that they were part of the same series. But I was missing like one of the books for the second one. And I never read it. I like perused through it, but I never read it because I was missing one. And I'm a completionist guy. So like I want to read the whole thing at once. So I waited like the months and months to fucking get all my credits on Audible. I got the entire first half of the series. The entire I think it's Chronicles of Amber is the first half of the series because it's 10 books by Roger Zelazny, which is funny because like I know the name probably because of those comics, because like as soon as I read that I was like, why do I know this book? And then it like dawned on me. I'm like, holy shit, I'm like, it's not the same book, is it? And then I realized it was. I was fucking lost the first book and a half, probably almost 2 full books. And I literally kept turning around to my coworker because I'm like listening to it at work. And I turned around, I was like, Chris, I'm like, I need you to tell me, should I keep listening to this fucking book? So I have no fucking clue what's happening. But it's like the way they wrote the guy is he's inquisitive, he's curious, and he like likes to keep like he plays along. Like he's a little yes and because he's an amnesiac at the beginning. So it's like he doesn't know and you don't know because he doesn't know. It's entirely told from his perspective. So I was really interested in him. So because I was really interested in him, I was feeling the frustration of not knowing what was going on and like all these things happening. And it's like if you've never read it or listened to it, it is a fucking roller coaster of a series. It's like it's a definite recommend for me. It's a wild fucking series. But like because the character is relatable, they're like, like the little bits of pieces, like inquisitiveness. I'm dead. I kept going. And then when the point of revelation happens, like you feel the relief and you're like, all right, cool. What are we doing next? And now you're getting all these details. And it's like, that's the thing that pulls you forward. It's not necessarily the plot that's driving you forward. It's the little shit, right? Like I wrote my first book recently, and it's funny because like, you may be hearing this for the first time, but I've told this story probably 5 or 6 times on this fucking podcast already. So it's like the people that listen, I wonder if they're annoyed with me telling the story, but I feel like I'm telling different parts of the story most of the time. Right. So I wrote my first novella recently, which is like set in the world of this comic book series that I started writing fucking over a decade ago. And I can't afford an artist right now. So I kind of had the brilliant, unexpected epiphany. Like, I'm just going to write a novel. Then I could do that myself without an artist. So I did that, and I did it through the magazine. So like the first few, like 5 or 6 issues of the magazine, you could read the first draft of that book. And it's funny because once we went into editing and my friend read it and she called out like a lot of stupid shit. And I was like, that's fair. Like, I'll change that. So it's like the first chapter. If you read the first issue of Catalyst and read that first chapter, it's a completely different first chapter because I changed the entire setup. Because she's like, oh, is this guy like a soldier, or like is he at the one of the CIA agency? I'm like, no, he's kind of like an off the books guy. And she's like, all right, cool. Then why are they meeting in the Pentagon in the first scene? I was like, That is a really good point. That's a really solid fucking point. Like, I was mad that she was checking me on all this shit, but like, that's
Yeah.
the point of editing. Like, editing sucks.
Yeah, I've had a lot of people read my script, and I always, when somebody doesn't tell me something, I'm like, did you read it? Like,
Right.
there's got to be something that I didn't
Right.
catch
You
in the
got to
other
give me a
people that read
little,
it.
you got to have
Yeah.
some feelings about it.
It even got to the point where I had paid like an editor that like a comics editor to read it and go through it, and I'm working with Steve Ekstrom now, and he's he's more proofreading and kind of fixing my dialogue, which, but like when you think about like, okay, like I need you to get more involved, like I need how story structure, am I following all of the, am I hitting all the check marks of like a successful story or whatever. And when I had this other editor that I paid to read it, she was like, "This doesn't really read like a normal book," and I was like, "Is that good or bad?" She's like, "No, it kind of reads like a manga," and I was like, "Well, that makes sense."
Right. That tracks.
Story
Be
structure is
like,
more like.
awesome. That's what I'm going for. Thanks.
I was like,
Thanks for
cool.
reinforcing that. Awesome.
Yeah, that's okay. And but I had somebody was like, "Hey, it takes a really long time for the action to start. It's you paid me to read this, so I read it, but I was bored here, and so I wrote a prologue that just throws you into the action and then kind of slows it down, and it completely changed kind of how the book is received, and that's been awesome. And so just the value of people reading your, like,
Absolutely.
if you're listening to this and you write, or you have to have other people read your stuff, and
Yeah.
you like, just be receptive to it. And sometimes people say stupid stuff and they're wrong, and that's okay. But sometimes they will see things that you don't, and either out of inexperience or just because you love the story, and that's what first draft is for.
That's a big one, right? That's a big one, because I didn't, in that first edit round, like, I didn't even think that was a problem. Like, I wrote the fucking thing and I knew that this guy was off books, but I had him just waltzing into the fucking Pentagon, name dropped by the fucking assistant. Like,
Yeah.
she knew him by name. That means he's been there more than once. This guy's off the books. How off the books is that? Like, but from my perspective, I'm telling it in the best way I can, till someone tells you, like, this doesn't make sense. And that's when I gave it out to people, I was like, tell me if shit doesn't make sense. Tell me if shit is,
Yeah.
like, if you're just like, where did this fucking come from? Like, anything that just like jars you out of the story. That's what I'm looking for. Cause like, it's like a weird fucking process, because an exposition fucking story, like, this story is meant to set up this greater universe, which is fucking crazy, because this whole thing started as like the background of this universe is, we all, like, me and my friends, we all sat down and we were like, let's make some shit. And we're like, let's all present the fucking ideas that we have, and whatever is the most developed or we all like the most, we'll just fucking dive deep, right? And
Yeah, like a writer's room or something.
yeah, and our buddy is off playing Tom Clancy's fucking End War, where it's like you can fucking talk to it on the Xbox and you can audible controls and shit. It's like a RTS game. And he's like, no. He's like, I don't have anything. I was like, fuck that shit. Like, put that shit down. You come back to the game. Get over here. He comes in, drops this gem of a fucking concept, and we're like, you are gonna keep that from us? What is fucking wrong with you? So it's like we all just dove in on this, and it's like, it's this bigger universe. But then when I was like, how can I put shit into this universe without having to draw? Because I cannot fucking draw. I'm not a production quality artist. Like, I have realized that to save my life, I couldn't draw you a symmetrical piece of art. Couldn't happen. It's impossible. There's a disconnect somewhere in my lobes where once I do one side and one side looks good, I go to the other side and suddenly he's a cyborg with a giant arm. And it's like, it's like automatically I have to change it because it can't look the same, because I can't make it.
I do that all the time. I just copy paste the other side and flip it, and then just
I did that. I did that for my like reference piece for this series. Like, I designed the costume years ago, but in my sketchbook, it's like it's just the one side of them. And I was like, it's a symmetrical.
You're like, why
You know,
does this all
you can
have?
you can fill in the rest. Like it's a symmetrical outfit, right? It's a symmetrical uniform. You know, the other
That's
side looks the
great.
same. So like, I sat down and I'm like, let me write this stuff. And it's like I sat down with this idea of nothing. The guy was like, this guy is gonna go do some research and find some information about this thing. And then I just kind of fucking went nuts with it. And mid exposition, like he goes to his informant and they're like, oh, boom, here's all the fucking data. I was like, just as I was going, I brought it back into the Balkans. I was like,
Nice.
it just happened, bro. I was like, all right, how do I how do I like instill the like scope of this thing? And it's like, well, you know, I could have, because it like I'm setting it in like the past, the details of this, you know, information that he's gone to get is in the past. And it's just, I was just like, damn. And as to me, I was like, well, as a reader, right there, I'm hooked. And because of that, when I like went and fleshed out the other chapters, I did so much research because I was like, I'm gonna dig into like that shit's gonna hit me. That's gonna be like, oh, that can like it's almost realistic, like believable. And I was like, I want that to be, I want other people to feel that about other parts of
Yeah.
this book. So then I went and like the second chapter is in like Brazil. I'd never been to fucking Rio, right? And
Yeah.
I'm like Google Maps, I'm pulling up fucking diner spots, like I'm street view layouts. Like
Yeah.
I wanted it to feel like, because this guy comes out of this building and he like situates himself, because he's I don't want to like give away too much. First chapter is pretty fucking fire, so I don't want to give away what happens. But like he comes out of this building and it's like, oh shit, and he like identifies the building across the street, and then he's like, you know, he's got himself on a map because this guy doesn't know where he's been for however many months. And so that I was like, these pieces, like I've never been to Rio, but I feel like someone who's from Rio will read that and be like, I get that. Like
Yeah.
I get
Yeah,
what's going on.
you gotta make the environments lived in, right? Like that's something that do you know the comic artist Zach Howard? He's he did a really amazing indie book that he did through IDW. It's called Wild Blue Yonder. I 100% recommend it. He and Mike Rake, I don't know how to say his last name, but kind of co-created it. But anyway, Zach is an incredible illustrator, just a fantastic draftsman. You know, like he's just like one of those guys that just sits down and he's like, I need to draw every notch on this piece of wood furniture, or I'm going to stab somebody if I don't get it done, kind of guy. And he, and I like every time I think about him, every time I try and draw a scene, I'm like, okay, I need like I understand that I need to make this, you know, this is a production and it needs to go quickly, but like this also needs to feel lived in. There needs to be, you know, and so like when I don't know, when I was working on like in the past the prologue in the kind of the beginning of the book, the intro, Nico goes into his grandfather's study and there's books all over the place. You know, there's notes and stuff written all over the walls, and there's, you know, schematics and all this. He's his grandfather's a scientist, and there's all this stuff as he was, you know, uncovering the mystery of the crystal compass. And I was like, okay, this room needs to feel lived in. So, you know, the chairs have tears on them. The table has wear. You know, there's an empty bottle of something. Like that sort of stuff is really important. Even if you glance at those details for a millisecond, right? Our brains register that information, and it might not, you know, it may have taken me 6 hours to draw that panel, but like it's really important. Just like you said, if somebody from Rio was reading that, they're like, hey, I know that place. Like, and that's how you connect with a story. And so to me, like that stuff is invaluable. And just if you have the patience, and if you have the, like, you know, the ability to research and kind of, or at least build that in your head. I mean, I always, when I draw, like I'll write a scene out, and if you read my script, you're like, oh, that's pretty bare. Like there's not a lot of detail in that, but like I have that photo in my head. Like I, you know, and I can move my mind's eye around that room.
you have that that's such a great place to be in. Like in another universe, I have as many sketchbooks as you do, and I have this because like I can visualize all the shit that I've written. Like the comic series, I'm gonna send you the script just so you can
Yeah,
see it. I'm curious for your input. Everyone that's seen the first few pages of that script is like, you need to get this out. That this needs to
yeah,
come out. Like you need to make this. And I think the script is so good because we started in 2008 when that whole fucking scene happened. We all fucking started just diving in. We expanded this universe, built out all these parts of it, and I started writing this. Like I started writing a classic single issue, 22 pages. Right, I outlined it, which I don't even outline anymore, like almost at all, just crazy. But like back then, I was like, I'm gonna outline all these 22 pages, and then like 2017, I start writing it, and I'm sitting there, and I'm like, I'm on page 3. I finished the exposition, and I was like, I had 3 pages marked for exposition. And then I'm like, what the fuck do I do? I'm like, I can't, I'm like, I could fluff this up and bullshit it up for 3 pages, but I'm like, I don't want to. Like, I'm done
yeah,
saying what I need to say. This guy is a mercenary boss telling them what the job is. He's not gonna bullshit them for 30 fucking minutes. He's gonna say, here's the fucking job, go do it. We're gonna get paid. Shut the fuck up. I don't want to hear no fucking questions. So I'm like, for like 3 days, I'm like batting it around. I'm like, how do I do this? Do I like extend a fight scene? Like, what do I do? Right. And then it just like hit me. I was like, why? Like, my whole plan is to release this digitally first. And the whole plan is to release this digitally first. And I was like, why does it need to be 22 pages?
no,
It doesn't need to
yeah,
be a 22-page
no,
issue. So then I was like, fuck it. I'm just going to write it. And wherever it stops, it stops. So then I wrote it, and it was a solid 10-pager. And I was like, I like this. This is a good, solid 10-page story. And I was like, I wrote the next, ends up being 5 10-page issues and a 15-page issue. So 65 pages of story, but fucking tight, fast, good. Like everything's happening. Everything happens that I want to happen. I didn't cut anything. And I'm just like, I would put this out digitally and then create, like you said, a all-encompassing volume with all the
yeah,
shit. And that's the thing I would print. But if I'm putting it out, like embracing the format, I was like, this doesn't have to be any certain way, but it has to feel good. Like I start in media res because that's, like you said, like you kicking off with that piece of action, I feel is heavily underrated because the novella that I did starts with straight exposition, but it's like it's a short scene, it goes to another short scene, and it goes to like the like cliffhanger of the first chapter. So like to me it moves quick
yeah.
because even though they are set
Oh
up like
yeah,
it's not action, if the like I the first book series that I read, and that was because of the way it was written, I feel like I'm going to get a lot of flack from people about this because like I hear a lot of negative talk about this author just because he's kind of like a lot, and he's kind of everywhere. But I read the Women's Murder Club series for like 7 or 8 books. So
wait, wait.
first to
Who did
die,
that?
they're James Patterson.
Oh, I mean that's fine. That's
See,
fine.
you have some opinions about it. That's my point.
No,
Like I
no, no,
feel,
not no.
but it's like
I
I
can
read
get
the first one, and it was just like every chapter was fast paced. It was like 3 or 4 pages a chapter, and it kept me going, right? It kept me going through the book. And especially at the end when it was like, oh, time for fucking revelations. I'm thinking I know who the killer is. Boom, end of the chapter, that theory's out of the fucking door. Then I'm like, wait, okay, maybe it's this other person. Next chapter, boom, that theory's out the fucking door. By the time it got to the end, you actually get the revelation. You're just like fucking relieved because it's like you've
yeah.
come up with 6 fucking options. None of them are right.
I just
And I'm
want to
just,
know.
yeah, you're like, I fucking want to know what's happening. So it's like I read that his whole, not whole, but like I think it's still ongoing. But I read the first like 7 or 8 books of that because it was just like the pacing was so good, and it's not always fucking action. It's not usually it's not action, right? A lot of it's discussion because the whole I don't know if you ever read it or know anything about the
Mm.
series, but it's basically like this detective in San Francisco. In San Francisco, this detective essentially starts on this case and ends up working with a reporter and like the coroner and one of the like not DA, but like one of the like the higher end attorney
Yeah,
is in the whole
like
thing.
ADA
But
assistant.
they're all women, and they all like meet up for fucking drinks to like do some shit you're not supposed to, which is discuss the case outside of, you know.
Oh, that's
Yeah. So
cool.
they're like
I like
cross
that.
pollinating information, like helping
Yeah.
each other out. Cause it's like, you know, this guy's killing people. They want to fucking catch this dude. So that's like how it goes. And that's the whole premise of the whole series. But it's like the way it was written, the fucking pacing and everything. I cared about those fucking people, the friends, the
Mhm.
partner, all of those people I end up caring about because it's like it draws you in because of the pacing. And it's like all these characters that feel real. They got these like issues, and like you said, it feels lived in. And
Yep.
I love, because like I'll be honest, like I saw your piece that you showed where Nico's sitting down to like read a book or laying down to read a book in his bed, and it's like you could have just had him be on just like a generic bed with nothing, but it's like the like the cover's pulled back, and like the little details are there that it's like this feels more real, and that shit's
Yeah.
important, man. That shit's so
Yeah.
fucking important.
Yeah. It is. Yeah. Absolutely.
Like, and a lot, there are a lot of people, and I feel like, again, I don't want to call nobody out. You know, like I said, I give a lot of fucking, I give a lot of fucking slack in the indie space.
Yeah.
But there are artists and sometimes writers who write shit that's just like, and you know, draw shit that's like, okay, like it's fine. You know, it's not
But
like I'm not like drawn in. I'm not like in,
yeah.
like it's a fine story. It's fine. It comes out. It's good. But it's like, for me, I'll excuse art if the story's really good. If
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
art is outstanding, like top fucking tier, like this should be in Marvel,
Yeah.
I'll probably excuse some story
Yep.
shit.
Absolutely. No, I'm the same way. I mean, like I can appreciate one or the other independently of each other, and I can also, I can appreciate when something is well thought out and well uh, produced. That's probably the right term. And I seek out both, like I don't sit there and wait for it to kind of fall in my lap. I'm like, oh, hey, this art is beautiful, and I'll look at it and I'm like, yep, I'm buying. Like I bought the Witcher games, right? There's
Yeah,
like
yeah,
a course comic series, and I was like, this is dope. The art's beautiful. I love this cover. It's hardcover. I'm buying this. Like I'm just gonna buy it because it's beautiful and I want
right.
to look at it. I'm like I haven't read a single word of it after the first issue because I was like, this is stupid. It's not. It doesn't feel like the real Witcher, right? Like, but at least the novels, but it doesn't matter because it's still gorgeous and like it's nice to look at. And frankly, like when I'm drawing, I have books around me, and I'm like, I saw a cool panel in X issue of whatever. I need to reference that and see if I can do it. Not necessarily the same way, but if I can put my own spin on it. And um, I sometimes I get one of the things I need to, as I'm working on this book, I need to get out of is not being formulaic with my compositions and my panel layouts, because that is usually where I skimp. And I don't mean to use the term skimp, but like I'm like, oh, I know this composition will work here, so I'll just do it this way. But because it's hard to vary your shots for 260 pages. I mean,
Right.
it's like you get to a point, and I always try and think back to that Wally Wood. I don't know if you've ever seen the poster, but it's like all the possible panel compositions you can do, and it's like 24 panels or something, and he draws like a comic page, but it's all different panels, and it's like you can only do it so many ways before,
I mean, there's something to that, man. Like, there's something to like the respect of the medium, right? Like this can only come out a certain type, like kind of ways. Like once in a while, you get somebody who forces like a wildly different approach, right? I always think back to, because I thought this was fucking crazy at the time, but like I think it's the first volume of Ultimates. Brian Hitch did this like fucking 6-page
Yeah,
gatefold, and it's like the middle of the book. So it's like you flip the page and it's like, oh shit, it's this fucking massive
yeah,
battle scene that you gotta,
yeah,
oh, you need like fucking table space to read
yeah,
this comic. And
yeah.
that's like you're forcing the medium to do something different, but it's like it's difficult to do that shit. Like at some point you run out of shit. It's like it's this way, it's sideways. That's
Can
why I
you
like. Go
Can
ahead.
you imagine that conversation though, that like that Hitch was having with like the writer and the editors in that room? They're like, "Look, this is what we want this to look like," and everybody was like, "No."
They're like, no, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, that's 6 pages. Like, how are we gonna do that? No, no, no,
Yeah,
it'll work. Trust me.
yeah.
What the fuck are you talking about?
That must have been insane. I love that. I don't know if you've ever heard of the way that they did in Watchmen. I'm sure you have the origin of I think it's called Origin of Symmetry or Point of Symmetry. It's like page 12 in issue 6 in the trade. The panel layout mirrors the opposite page, and then the book goes all the way back, mirroring each page all the way to the end.
What the
It's like,
fuck?
yeah, it's crazy. And so
I
like
have not heard about
yeah,
that.
so like there's some variation, slight, but like there's this whole thing where it goes, so you like get to like page 12, issue 6, and then it goes all the way to the end. It's nuts, but
So,
like
like, literally the halfway point.
yeah, yeah. And so like it's
Fucking
uh,
Dave Gibbons,
it,
man. What a fucking
yeah, I
nutcase.
know.
That's
And
that's a wild shit.
in his panel layouts, like it and structure is very like box here,
Very
box,
simple. Yeah.
but then, and so you're like, oh, this is just like a normal comic. But then you're like, man, this was like 1980. When did that come out? 87,
7.
something like yeah.
Oh,
But
I'm bad at
but they were,
bad at comic book trivia, man. Like,
yeah. Not only was Alan Moore, not only were they deconstructing the superhero, but they were also like just deconstructing how to make a comic. And it's just like when you put it in, I mean, it's still one of my favorite. I think every
I
comic.
haven't read it in like, I haven't read it probably at least 10 years, man. No more, 20. I think I read it in like 2004 because I was what I was doing is I was going to a library and I was getting like pulling out a bunch of graphic novels because I didn't up until that point I didn't even know graphic novels existed in libraries. So I was pulling graphic novels just like fucking getting shit. And it's something that always uh like something that like sticks in my mind of like how you present a story because back then, so I read Watchmen, which is fantastic. I loved it. But it was like I had read about that like reveal scene in Wizard
And
for
you're like,
for a decade before that. So I knew
yeah,
what was going to happen,
yeah,
but I didn't know the context. So I read it back then. It's like I have the was Absolute Edition or whatever on the shelf, but I don't think I've actually even opened it. Like now that I think about it, because it's like I read it so long ago, and it's like
yeah,
it's such a well crafted book that like I remember most of it. Like
yeah.
not
You're like,
true
I
for
have
most
this
books. And
because I want to have this.
it's like I've read most of the X-Men from the 90s 3 or 4 fucking times.
Yeah,
And I could probably give you the gist, but I could probably pick up a single issue and still be surprised because I
yeah.
don't remember all of it. But it's like Watchmen is so fucking good and it's so well told.
It's like it's ubiquitous, right? I mean, like it just stands there. I think it's still influencing comics for what it's worth. But
Absolutely, absolutely. But so yeah, that's what I was gonna say. I was gonna say back then when I was reading books from the library, I grabbed Crisis on Infinite Earths and Secret Wars, the two crossovers from the 80s, right?
yeah,
There weren't any others because those were the two that invented crossovers.
yeah, yeah. That's
I
true.
read all of Crisis on Infinite Earths. Wonderful. Like front to back, the fucking architecture, all these fucking crazy worlds. I loved it. To this day, my friend, I have not read the original ones.
Yeah,
Got to like the issue 4, and I was like, the fuck is the point of this story? Like,
yeah,
I just couldn't keep going. I have
yeah,
tried probably 4 times, and I've never been able to read it. It's fucking wild. But it's like how you present the story so much fucking matters because
yeah,
that was historically, this is acknowledged across all mediums. Secret Wars was made to sell toys. It was a marketing comic.
yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
like it was a true nonsense book. That's what I call them nowadays. A lot of people like try to like go to bat for like Marvel and DC books about mech shit. I was like, it's a nonsense book.
Yeah,
You might enjoy it, but it's a nonsense book. Like it's a book meant to sell toys, which is
yeah,
fine. There's nothing wrong with that. I love nonsense books. There's a lot of fucking nonsense
yeah,
books out there. But you gotta acknowledge, like, this shit it's not like great fucking storytelling, Now, I will say the DC mech supposedly is pretty good, but it's like I'm perusing, but I'm gonna read eventually the fucking Marvel, like Mech Strike, whatever the fuck it's called. Like it's ridiculous. I'm gonna read it, but it's just like the was it the manga verse or whatever.
Yeah, the
Marvel.
Megaverse. I was gonna say
It was
that. And
terrible. It was fucking terrible.
I mean, Transformers, right? Beast Wars, that was made to sell toys. Like,
Dude, that shit is so funny to me because to this day, I remember having an Optimus Prime who was a bat. And the reason that is a thing, because they made the toy line when they came up with the concept, but hadn't actually designed any of the characters yet. So they're just like, fuck it, throw a toy line out. They turn into beasts, pick shit. So Megatron was an alligator or a crocodile. I don't know the difference.
I don't know if there's a big difference.
and Optimus was a fucking bat. He had the same swords. So they ended up keeping the swords for some reason, but because they're awesome. they're like S-curve swords. But then like the fact that he was a monkey, I was like, wait, what? He's never a bat. Like I never understood that. And I got that toy because I think it might have even been a 2-pack now that I think about it. It might have been like an Optimus versus Megatron thing. I got that shit at fucking Venture. You're not from this area. You don't even know what that is. That is like pre-Kmart. That went out of business before the current millennium.
Where are you?
Chicago area.
Oh, Chicago. Okay. Oh, that's why you have Shivovitz at the liquor store. I'm like,
are you suggesting that per capita we have a bunch of fucking Balkan people here?
Yeah, dude. There's tons of Balkan.
Yeah, we absolutely do. Holy shit, we do.
And like I mean, I'm in Colorado. There's some Russians here. There's no Balkans. Like we have.
You are shitting me. You're in Colorado? Bro, I was in Colorado like less than a month ago.
Really?
Denver. I was in fucking Denver.
just hanging out. We could have been.
Bro, have you gone to Mile High?
Yeah, the big one in
bro, I didn't even know. I've been there 3 fucking times, and this time I was like, you know what? I gotta fucking go to a comic shop. I haven't been here, dude. I gotta fucking tell this story to you because this I tell the story to fucking everybody because this is such a this was a cosmic fucking weekend. Cosmic, let me tell you. So my buddy's having a kid. Well, they have the kid now, but like my buddy's fiance's having a kid, and he's like, hey, in February we're gonna do a fucking baby shower. I was like, all right, cool. I'm gonna like tell me when, and he's like last weekend in February. Got it, right? So I start planning. My wife starts planning. She's got other shit going on. I'm gonna come. Me and my cousin are gonna drive out there.
Oh, you drove?
Yeah. So I'm like, we're gonna drive out there. We're gonna stay with you guys last weekend. Cool. We don't really talk very often. So then come January, I'm like, it's like itching at me. I'm like, he's kind of an irresponsible prick. Let me ask his fiance. Let me verify this date. I was like, hey, this was the day he gave me. When is this actual baby shower? It's the 12th. I'm like, that's 2 fucking weeks before he said it was going to happen. So I was like, shit. And then I'm looking and I'm like, can we come out? I'm like, there's other shit planned. We got fucking 3 dogs here. So it's like, I would have to ask like 2 or 3 people to come to the house and like take care of the dogs and shit. And I was like, it's not going to fucking work. It's not going to happen. I'm like, we're going to zoom into the fucking baby shower and we will fucking, and she's like, cool, no problem. But like, he still wants you to come out on the 28th or whatever the fucking last weekend was. And I was like, I actually will be coming the weekend before because I was like, I realized I did Virtuous Con. Last year I went to Virtuous Con, which is a virtual convention. But it's like I met some really fucking cool people last year. So I was like, fuck it, I gotta go this year. Like just a really, really good like marketing opportunity. Just like, and I barely fucking talk about this goddamn magazine. So I'm like, this is the time where I'm going to jump into these people's rooms and be like, hey, let me tell you about this magazine. You could be in it. Like, like that's what it was. I was like, dope. So I was like, fuck it. I'm going to go the weekend, the weekend in between. The day before I'm about to go up, our other buddy, like our mutual friend messages me. He's like, hey, are you going to Colorado this weekend? I was like, I don't fucking have to, cause like, your boy calls you up like, hey, where are you going to be? I'm like, I could be wherever you need me to be. Like, what's going on? And he's like, dude, my mother-in-law's visiting. Her and the wife are watching the kids. I'm fucking coming out to Colorado. I was like, holy shit. We haven't been in the same room in fucking 15 years.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Wild. Yep. So we all go, great fucking time. Second day I'm there, I'm like, I gotta go to a comic shop. It's been 3 fucking times that I've been here, 3 different years across like 5 years. I gotta find a comic shop. I find the first one on the maps. I was like, yeah, cool, whatever. It looks like a fine comic shop. And I slide over and it like fills in the name and it's like Mile High Comics. I was like, no fucking way, Mile High Comics. Like Mile High Comics? So I click on it, and I was like, holy fucking shit, it's Mile High Comics. Dude, I used to order from Mile High Comics when I was a kid. Like, you had the ad in the comic books
at the back. Yeah,
bro. My mom would be like, you have $10 or $20, whatever, for to order some comics. And I was like, cool. So I would sit there. I'm like, which quarter books can I get? How can I maximize this money to get the most comics, right? Dude, so it was like, I was like, I didn't know this was in fucking college. I would have gone here every time I've been here.
Yeah.
This is insane. So we go. It's in this fucking back warehouse. I thought we were gonna get murdered. I was like, Google is taking us to a place where we're gonna get killed. This is over. Like,
not Denver.
I was like, we turned the corner and this building is massive. I was like, it's the size of a fucking Target. Like, this thing is huge. We go in, the fucking big signs on the side of the building, the fucking the murals. We go in, there's the fucking map of all the people from all the country and all over the world that have been there. I was like, this is the Mecca. This is the comic book Mecca. Dude, I go in, there's like 43,000 fucking aisles of graphic novels. And I'm like, I just like pick a spot and I just go in, and like another, I go through and I come around the corner, another aisle, and I see I'm in R's, and I see something said Red. And I was like, oh shit. Like I've been trying to collect Red Star, which I don't know if you know, graphic series from Image, like early 2000s.
Sounds familiar.
The dude that fucking did it doesn't exist anymore. I'm pretty sure this motherfucker got a job and is cashing a check somewhere, and like got a regular job, and he's just not in the industry anymore. So I was like, I've been looking I've been trying to collect the series forever. It was never finished. There was like a single issue that was never put out. I'm so pissed. Regardless, I'm like, what's the chance they got Red Star, right? I'm like, you have a shit ton of stuff here, but like, what's the chance? Like, what's such a really fucking niche book? They have one Red Star book, and it is the one Red Star book that I don't own.
That's wild.
So I pull that one, and I was like, holy shit. I come home, I fucking scan it in my shit. It's fucking signed, bro.
Oh, nice.
Oh God, dude. Fucking cosmic ass weekend, bro. It was so cool. That place is enormous. It was massive. They have this massive Optimus Prime there right now. And I was like, I would fucking pay a lot of money for that. Cause I'm a Transformers guy. I collect Optimus Primes. There's this whole bookshelf over here with just Optimus Primes, bro. So like, I'm like, I gotta ask, right? Like, I'm here, I gotta fucking ask. If I go over, I'm like, hey, how much is that big ass Optimus Prime? And he's like, it's not for sale. And I was like, shit, of course it's not for sale. But then I looked it up later on eBay. That motherfucker is going for like $700-800. And I was like, never, not ever. Like, maybe if
how
I had
big is it?
Dude, it's massive. So here's the thing. The fucked up thing is, it's not a bigger version of anything. It is a regular, it's like an ultimate class, I think they call it. It is the biggest version of Optimus, right? But you could get that figure outside of that display case for like $300.
Yeah, so it's like the masterpiece or whatever, right? Or it's like super high detailed. Is it that one?
No, it's not even that. It's just it's called the Ultimate Edition. It's the Ultimate Optimus Prime. It's one of the movie like models. But it's the one, like, the trailer turns into the fucking jetpack and the wings and shit. It's massive, but it's also in this display case where it's like a whole thing you're buying. But it's like, you could buy that exact figure in a regular box because I'm like, I wouldn't keep it in a fucking display case anywhere. I don't keep none of my shit display cases. Like, I probably could make a lot of money off the fucking Transformers that I got in this room, but like, none of them are boxes, so it doesn't matter. Because my ass is like, I'm gonna transform this shit. That's the whole point.
You could transform it back and then transform it again.
That's it. Every once in a while, I grab them, I transform it, I put them back on the shelf. That's it. That's all that needs to happen. Dude, I used to collect a lot more toys. Like, I have some bullshit, like I got some spawns that I still want to complete the collection of, but like little shit, right? Like, I got some like was that Gears of War? Like, I got some little shit around the room. But it's like I stopped collecting action figures when it really dawned on me that like transforming robots, that's my shit. Transforming robots and dope robots, because I do have some Gundams back here. But like, I was like, that's my shit. Like, transforming robots, that's all I care about. Like, I don't really care about Power Ranger like action figure. None of that shit really like hits the fucking pleasure centers for me. So I stopped fucking like 2 years ago. I was like, I'm not doing any more fucking anything except transforming robots. Last year I started my new job. One of my coworkers is a massive toy head. He introduces me to a website, which I apologize to anyone who's about to go on this website who has never heard of it before, bigbagtoystore.com. So much shit. To the breadth of toy. I didn't even realize there was some of this shit out there. Like the kind of toys that exist, wild. They have, I didn't even know about this. I had just recently bought like a knockoff, like what I thought was just like a knockoff Optimus Prime. But I was like, it's pretty solid quality. Like it was like $35. Cool. I'm fine with it. Like perfectly fine. That's a whole category. Third-party Transformers, and like third-party robot shit is a whole category on that shit.
That's hilarious,
bro. I didn't even know this is like a industry, like off-brand Transformers. They give them all kinds of crazy names. It's like like I think they just call Optimus like just leader usually. Megatron is usually like Repulsor or something like that, like something crazy. They just come up with their own names. There's no Transformer badging or anything like that, no Takara stuff. But I was like, wow. And that's also where I found that there's these like ridiculous statues, which I'm so glad that I like got off the statue train, because I have some statues around here, but I got off the statue train right the fucking time, because like this motherfucker's showing me shit that's like $800. Like a year, like I think last year or maybe the year before, they like came out with this new like rejuvenated Beast Wars line of toys, and it was like I think it was for the War for Cybertron or whatever, the Netflix series.
Oh yeah,
because they had some of the Beast Wars characters in that. I still haven't watched that, which is crazy. But like they came out, and I remember seeing this statue, and I was like, wow, that's crazy, but I would never pay that much money. There's like a fucking Optimus Primal, like high detail statue, like the fucking individual like pieces of fur. That's crazy. Dope. Like it looks incredible. I was like, I would never spend $600 on this, right?
Yeah.
Dude, that motherfucker's selling for like $3,000 now.
Oh
yeah, there are Transformers based statues on that site that are upwards of $6,000. And I'm just like, motherfuckers buy it. I mean, like, cool, if there's a market for it, you do you, like whatever. But I'm just like, I'm so glad that I'm not even in the like headspace of statuary anymore. Like I want it. If it doesn't do something, I don't really give a shit no more.
Yeah.
Like I'm like, if I'm like, I even like, and now I like came into this realization that a lot of the shit that they sell is like really skewed. The shit that's cheap is bad, like just outright bad. It's like for little kids.
Yeah.
And then like the shit that's good is like starts at $55. Like,
yep.
Like I found an Optimus Prime at the store and it was $55, but it was the first time I'd seen a decent looking Optimus Prime in store in like 3 years. So I was like, I gotta fucking buy it because this bitch is gonna be $115 next time I see it.
Yeah. I mean, I think that masterpiece Optimus Prime is like $300 or something like that. It's like,
and it was $100 when it first came out. The masterpiece, I want the masterpiece Optimus Primal because he looks like the show, because he's got the smooth, the like doesn't look like a real fucking gorilla at all.
Gorilla. Yeah, they're like robot gorillas.
It's like no. It's just like the like really shitty 90s CG smooth.
Oh, that's hilarious.
it looks just like the show, dude. It's fucking hilarious. Because like I bought one last year, but he like the beast mode looks just like a real gorilla. Like it's very hairy and shit, which is fine. But I was like, when I saw that masterpiece, I was like, fuck, I would have rather bought that one. Because it's like it's not realistic at all. Like, that's the show. Yeah, but like that's the show. That's what I wanted. That's why honestly, I don't know how I feel about this new movie. It's like I love seeing those characters on screen, but I'm like, he doesn't look like a real gorilla. He looks like a robot gorilla, which wasn't the point. The point was that he was supposed to look like a real gorilla.
Yeah. No, I'm excited. I was just gonna say I was excited about that movie, but I don't know. I just go see him, right? Like I'm like, I want to see this on screen. I don't care. It's probably gonna suck, but I'm gonna have a good time.
what looks really at least based on the trailers, because I haven't seen much else, there's a lot of robot on robot fighting. I'm not seeing a lot of humans in the trailers, which I fucking love.
Yeah.
Because when was it the fourth one or whatever? Whenever he like flew off into space,
Yeah.
I was like, oh man, I hope the next one is just him out in space, no humans. Like, I don't give a shit about the humans. Like,
Doing
we're here,
alien robot stuff.
yeah, we're here to watch robots punch robots. I don't care if it doesn't look realistic. When the first movie came out and people were like, oh, like he wouldn't be able to move that fast at that size. I'm like, no one's here for real physics. Nobody. Nobody's watching giant robots who transform into trucks and shit, fight other robots that transform into jets.
Yeah.
No one's here for real physics. Like, what are you talking about?
Here.
Who cares if he wouldn't move that fast? He
That's hilarious.
dodged a bus. That shit's awesome. Like, oh man. So to swing all the fucking way back to your book, to the actual purpose of this podcast. What, like, where are we at right now? You're 2 weeks? 2 weeks, or are we just ended up?
No, I'm at like day 6. Yeah.
Oh shit.
So we're at day 6. I mean, I don't know when you'll release the podcast.
Oh, it's coming out tomorrow. It's coming out tomorrow. I have decided that, just like unilaterally for the entire indie comics community, Thursdays are going to be new indie comics days.
That's awesome. I love it.
Like, I have decided for the community. So that's going to be when I like share stuff. That's going to be when the podcast drops, especially if I'm doing indie creator like yourself, which dude, your stuff is so fucking good. Like, I don't want to sound like I'm blowing smoke, but like, your shit is really fucking good. It reminds me in some ways of a buddy of mine from back in the day. He did some work for me, and I'm like, I saw your stuff and I'm like, that's like it feels good. Like, it feels it's like brings back some good memories too. Like,
that's awesome.
The style. I love that shit, man. I'm so excited to read this series. You said 3 books, so if all 3 are going to be 300 pages, it's a lot of that's a J.R.R. Tolkien number of pages, sir.
And to be honest with you, I could do like I'm just saying 3 books. Like, if I have tons of ideas and stories in different directions that the characters could go after at the end of book 3, and I've written I've plotted book 3, but I've written a good chunk of book 2. I got to an airport. All the bookstores were closed. Usually I'll try and like snag a book to read on the flight or whatever. And I had this long layover and I just had my laptop. And I was like, well, I know what I want to happen in book 2, and let's just see where it goes. And so I just started writing it. And as sometimes this happens, you write, the second issue of something or book 2, whatever, and you're already you can kind of see book 3 writing itself in the background,
Right.
And, so I was like, okay, don't write the script. Just do it prose. Just lay it all out, and then start cutting it up and see where it goes. And so
that was going to be my question. So that was going to be my question. So you start by writing essentially like a novel, and then you're cutting it out and fleshing out the scenes and stuff.
Yeah. And it's probably like a huge waste of time to do it that way. I don't know, but I think it reads better that way. I don't know. So like, I have a huge prose version of book 1 that's just sitting in my Google Drive that is like, there's a point where I ended it and I was like, okay, this is not going to work. I can't do this whole thing, but it goes pretty deep into book 1. And it really, to me, it served as the backbone of everything. And so from that, I took everything for the script that I could. And then, because sometimes just like we see in movies, right? Like the book doesn't really translate to the script very well. But a lot of the backstory of Nico's grandfather, the island, the house that you see in the first part of the book, and kind of how all of that coalesced into Nico and his mother being on the island, and kind of him finding the compass, the catalyst of the whole story. A lot of that has this really rich backstory that I'm almost like, I kind of want to tell this story too, but like,
that sounds like a special feature 1,000 pages is a lot of pages, but eventually what I'm saying is you do an omnibus of the first 3 volumes.
Well, like I love that word omnibus because like it's one of those words that like describes the thing the way how you say it. And you're like it's such a it's not a big word, but the way you say it, like
Yeah.
you're like
Yeah. Yeah.
omnibus, you just know you're in
Yeah.
for
There's like weight to it. There's a like
yeah,
because these motherfuckers are heavy, dude.
yeah. Yeah, so there's like I keep telling myself like just set a goal and goal number one is finish get through the art for book one. You have book two, you know what it's going to look like. But I don't I'm so excited about the stuff that happens in book two that I can't like not think about it.
All
It's
right.
like and the way that book one ends, it a lot of people are going to be like, wait, where's book two? So like
So
it,
you gotta start writing, is what you're saying.
yeah,
You gotta
so
get cracking.
I don't want it to take 3 years to get to that point. So my goal is to look if we hit our funding goal, and I'm drawing the book now. Like the my Cintiq is right here. And I was drawing last night, and I'll be drawing tonight. And once I finish that last page and I send it off to Amaya, I'm just going to switch gears and finish the real full first draft of book two. Send it off to people just like you, and probably we'll send it to you to read, and you can edit it, and then I'll start drawing book two because I don't. Drawing for me is free, right? Like I don't have to crowdfund that.
Bro, I would fucking kill for it. I would kill for it. Like, and it's funny. I haven't seen. Ooh, that's fine. It'll be fine. I haven't seen my own work in a long time. So let's whip out. All right, no, that's terrible. So okay. This is not bad. This is not bad. Hold on. It's not bad. All right, so this is it's still bad, but so this is a piece of Storm that I did, Age of Apocalypse Storm from back in the day. Man, what year was this? 2016. Man, I need to draw more. That was a long time ago. But yeah, I am not production ready. I am a concept guy only. I like have some ideas about like what things should look like, what art should look like. The fact that you have that ability, is it easier for you to start that page one as an artist? Like you have you write the whole script and you're like, all right, cool, now it's time to get back to page and get down to pages. Is it easier for you because like you've already thought about where this is all going? Is it easy for you to just be like, all right, cool, let's just crack into art mode and go?
That's a tough question. In some cases, yeah, like sometimes you're like, yep, I know exactly what this looks like. Other times you think you know what it looks like and you put it down on paper and you're like, oh no, that is not where this is going. So the actual act of drawing, yes. The drawing it the way correctly, or the way you want it to actually present, no. And a lot of the times, like I'll redraw a panel like 5 times. There have been times where I've gotten colors back and I've been like, no, I gotta redraw that panel. And the colors is
dang.
What? And it's not because the colors were bad, it's just
Sure.
because
Once you see the final product, it gives you
some things just
context.
didn't click. Yeah. And that happened quite a bit with not the prologue, but the kind of the Nico stuff that happens in the house. And like a lot. And I was super embarrassed because I was like, I'm so sorry. I feel like such an amateur. And they're like, you have a vision, like, just maybe do more thumbnails before you commit to a panel. And I was like, yeah, that's a good call.
Because that's extra cost, I imagine. That's extra
Yeah.
dollars.
Yep. I mean, and a lot of the times, you can't afford that, and you can't afford it in time either, right? Like you have to get these pages out, you have to get them done, and it's a huge time suck. And so there are some panels where I'm like, gosh, I hate this, but I just have to let it go. Like I just have to let it go, and I just won't ever look at that panel. Like I'll be like, I love this panel here. Just put my like I'm not looking at this one. So um I I think that if you always love your work, I'm sorry, one second. I'm getting yelled at by my wife.
Oh no, go for it.
If you love your work too much, right? If you're wait like you'll never grow and learn. So there's always stuff where I'm like, I need to do this better. This is why, like, because I feel like I won't grow, I won't get better. And I tell this joke with my friends where I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna do. Hi, Ollie. This is my 4-year-old. Hey, buddy, can you go tell mommy I'm on a phone call? Um, sorry,
That's all right.
please. Um, so what I'll do is I'll say like, hey, you can't. If you aren't constantly looking at yourself, you won't ever get better. And I realized that at one point my work will be like, if at the end of this book my work looks totally different, like I feel like that'll be a victory.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Yeah. So like, yeah,
No,
this is
that's the way to go.
yeah.
That's the way to go for sure, man. Like I always go back to the classic X-Men tagline, mutatis mutandis, right? Like it's all about change. Like it's never nothing stays the same. Nothing looks the same as it did a year ago or 5 or 10. Like
Yeah.
if it does, it's not going to be good, right? Like that's where I think that a lot of the mainstream kind of gets into trouble is they try going really, really like hard left or hard right turns where it's like they had something that looked a certain way or was told a certain way, and it's like, oh, we're just going to do this crazy thing because it's like no one's buying the book anymore, like we're not getting more sales.
Yeah.
So we're trying to just like, let's try something crazy, let's try something way out of, because like if it stays stagnant, you're going to have people that are like, it's fine, and I'm just going to move on. And I think a lot of when I was reading DC back in the day, like late 90s, early 2000s, that's kind of what a lot of DC was. I really genuinely felt up until they brought in Ed McGuinness on Superman.
I remember that. That was crazy.
That was a bold move because
Yeah,
that his art style was so drastically different from
yeah.
everyone else. So much more expressional, like so much more bold. Because all the DC books up until that point were kind of homogenized. It all kind of looked the same. Like you picked up one Superman book, another Superman book, a Batman book, like it all kind of like all generally the same styles. And like they had like this for a while. I was like, they're not the same artist, like they can't be. That's so many books a month.
Yeah, but there was definitely a conversation in that editor's room where that was a decision that they made consciously, like, hey, all the Batman books have to look the same, all the Superman, and that was detrimental. And
and that's why when they brought him in, it was huge.
Yeah.
It was a big move. And that's why when they then did the Batman Superman book, and it was he did the art on that, like seeing him do Batman was crazy. Like that was such a different Batman. Like, but people loved it. People loved it. People like flocked to it. That was a huge book for them.
Yeah, I have those.
I love that series. And that series is fraught with such like crazy like landmark things, like the Michael Turner Supergirl book. Like that's nuts because he died shortly after that.
Yeah.
The book that was written by Jeff Loeb's son, like crazy. Like that whole run of books is real, and it brings out like some of the most ridiculous shit that they had in a long time. Like they had what was the Superman Batman composite robot? Great wildness, like insanity. That's some like golden age nonsense. But like it worked because you had the right kind of art and the right kind of approach. But like if they had stayed the same, like if they had done the same thing they had been doing, even when they did crazy crazy things in the books, like it's Electric Superman, but like Electric Superman, besides the power change, those books still looked the same as the previous Superman books. There wasn't no change in style. Like the art was the same. It's like, oh, okay, his powers are different, but it's like there's no chance in confusing that this isn't Superman because it looks exactly the same. But if they had brought in like Jay Lee to do Electric Superman,
Yeah.
that would have been, you would have like, people would have lost their minds because like that. I mean, I just like thinking about Jay Lee doing Electric Superman like makes me excited. So
Remember
like,
when he did Transformers? Sorry.
oh my god, yes,
Yeah, with the Transformers and GI Joe series. Yeah, sorry, not to
dude.
derail
But that's
that.
right. But like
That's the point.
but like that's the point, right? Like doing something that is not the same, it introduces an excitement to it. So like, yeah, like if the first page and the last page of your book look the same, that's great for consistency.
Yeah,
But like you drew 300 and something pages without
getting better.
without getting better, without changing anything. That's
Yeah,
impossible. Like,
yeah. So, you know, I appreciate your super nice compliments, by the way, about my work. It's just I'm insanely critical, and I'm constantly trying to figure out how I'm going to get better. And a lot of people are like, "Well, you'll get better by drawing," and I'm like, "Oh yeah." And then they're like, "But if if I get better by drawing more, and I'm drawing this book, it's gonna look different." And people are like, "That's okay." So
it is okay. I think it'll take us on a visual journey on top of the actual story being told, which is a journey in and of itself. So
yeah.
I think that it's I'm now even more excited to read it to see the evolution of the art, because it's like,
So back the book because you'll see the evolution of my art.
dude, the timing is incredible. I really got to tell you, Saturday, my wife tries to challenge me on some shit that I knew factually, but she refuses to let me be right. So I was like, listen, if I'm right, like, I'm gonna Google this, but if I'm right, I get a Kickstarter. I get a single Kickstarter.
Yeah.
And then she was like, okay. So I go in, I Google it, prove my point. I don't even remember what it was. It's like irrelevant. It was completely irrelevant. But
Yeah,
I got a Kickstarter back. And then like the next day I was on and I saw yours and I was like, oh shit. Yes. I'm like, the fucking timing is perfect.
Yeah, that's awesome. I thank you so much. I didn't really expect it to even be at where it's at right now. So
No, and but like I think the concept is really good. It reminds me, it as the kids say these days, it's giving never ending story. Like it's it's like reminding me of these like really epic tales told from this youthful perspective that we all grew up with, and that I think in a lot of ways like are missing in the modern space. Like there's a lot of stories that are told from adult perspectives and told from, I mean, like even stuff that's for kids is not like, it's not told great, or it's like like relegated to like kids cartoons. Like there just aren't, I'm really trying to think here. There just like aren't comic books or even movies. And like I'll be honest with you, like this feels like a movie. Like this is like the breadth of the scope of this is such a cool concept. And like reading those first few panels, like we're not even reading, like seeing them, because that the script wasn't in there yet. So like seeing those first few panels on the island when they get to the house, like it was feeling like Casper, like all these like stories that were like, it just drew you in. Like it brings you in. You're like, what's going on? Let's explore this house. Like automatically, like I was back in my kid days watching TV. Like what's going to be behind this door? Like that's where I'm at. Like, and I'm not even reading the book yet. I'm just looking at the pictures.
Yeah, I think so. I don't know if I've said this to you when we talked before the podcast, but like I really wanted to write something different, but that just was familiar. So like that is exactly what I was going for. The story. There's definitely elements that you're like, oh yeah, this is Narnia. This is whatever, like, the never-ending story. But I wanted to. It's still different enough that like I think it'll stand on its own. I know it will. And every time I talk to somebody about the book, they give me a different thing that it reminds it. So Neverending Story is the first, you're the first person to say that. And I don't know if that's an age thing, because I love Neverending Story. Dude,
the third one gets so much crap, but I'm like, I like that movie.
You're like, whatever.
It was fine. It was good. It wasn't great, but like none of it was great. Like, but it was fun, That's like right. That's like looking at something like, not really related, but like that's like looking at something like Mighty Ducks with like a critical eye. they're not good movies, but they're awesome. Like,
That's great. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, you get it. Like it's I think a lot of people will draw like the thing that I'm most interested in hearing is what people get from it. Like so that's the thing that I'm most excited about. And like if you're on the Kickstarter right now and you're looking at the artwork that's on there and in the video and leave a comment. Let me know like what does it remind you of? Is it I've so far I've heard obviously Narnia. I've heard Laputa Cast in the Sky, which of course
oh
huge.
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
that's if that is the only one of the very few animes that I will watch with the English dub, and it's because of Mark Hamill.
Don't be that guy. There's nothing wrong with dubs. There's nothing
No,
wrong with
but
dubs.
like it's so good. His character, like him playing the bad guy in that, is like so much better than
Castle?
yeah, Laputa. He plays what's his name? Oh my gosh, I can't remember his name.
I don't remember. I don't. And maybe it's been too long since I've seen it. I need to watch it again.
Yeah.
That's wild.
But anyway, so yeah, like let me know. Or we're on Facebook, we're not on Instagram, we're on Facebook and TikTok, but yeah, just like if there's something that kind of it pulls out, I want to hear about it. I think it's cool. And it's how I wrote it, right? Like I want people to find familiarity, excuse me, in the narrative, but I also want them to read something that experience a story that they haven't really ever seen before. And I think that's kind of where the thematics of it come into play with exploring. I'm gonna butcher this word because I still don't know how to say it. Diaspora.
Diaspora. Yeah.
Diaspora. There you go. English is my second language. If you guys didn't know.
Huh. You don't say. That's how many times have you gotten that compliment though? Oh, you're from another country. Your English is so good.
Oh my gosh, I have a really funny story about how I learned English. So the only movie that we had when I was a kid was Terminator 2: Judgment Day.
What a movie to learn English from.
Which is crazy. I love telling the story because then we end up moving to Los Angeles. So imagine I live in a super tiny town in Bosnia, like never even seen a person of African descent in my life, like outside of movies, right? And we go from, I have this one movie, I've seen T2 probably more than anything ever. It still probably can't see any other movies more times than I've seen that movie. I love it. Which is hilarious because it's like, but anyway, it's another stuff. So we moved to LA and my dad, like we're driving in the first car that he bought, which was this like 1980s Mitsubishi Mirage hatch, like this totally rusted out, like total immigrant car. I'm in the back seat and we're going over the LA River and I look to my right, I didn't know where we were. I was just looking out the window and I see the canal where he does the jump into and I just lost my mind. Like imagine I'm like 9 years old and I'm just like, what just happened?
That's amazing, dude. It's when something connects, like especially from films, that's such a visceral moment. Like
anyway, and so that's I think that's why I'm such a huge fan of stories. I think that they really can affect you. They can definitely define you, and even if you're not the one that's writing them. And that's kind of why Nico loves books and stories so much. And I think that love that I have for narrative is also another theme in the book, which probably doesn't make any sense. But like I want people to experience that same thing, and I hope that I'm good enough because I feel like I've set the bar high now. But
I mean, hey, set the bar, like it's your book, right? Set the bar as high as you want.
Yeah, so I'm having a lot of fun drawing it, and the Kickstarter situation is a full-time job. Nobody warned me.
Dude, there is like unless you hire one of those companies, like there's no easy way through it. What the fuck is happening?
And I thought about it, but like I'm like, oh, I work in marketing as my day job. I should be able to do this. I should know how to do this. I design like email newsletters for a living, and so yeah, but it's a whole different story when it's your own brand or your own
Yep.
project.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's you gotta it's I mean, first of all, it's gotta be 100%. That's 100% of the time that's what you're doing.
yeah,
Like there is no so it's like with 100% of your time dedicated to that, you still need to fit the actual work for the book and
yep,
all the, and like life.
yeah.
You got to fit all that other
Children.
stuff.
As
Yeah,
you
yeah,
saw.
yeah, right.
Yeah.
It's all got to fit into that, but like you still have to dedicate 100% of your day to that. So it's a wild space. I don't know what is happening to my eyes right now.
New water in. Yeah.
Um, yeah, no, it's like Kickstarter is a crazy fucking space. But look, you also started at a what I think is a reasonable number. Like it's not a great, like it's a lot, but it's not like, bro. I've seen way less
Yeah.
set at a goal of way fucking more.
Yeah.
So like,
Yeah.
I I
My,
I think you have a good goal. I think I don't think you're gonna have a problem getting this.
thank you. Yeah. I look at yeah, I'll scroll through like the Kickstarter feed and it's like, oh, 176% funded. I'm like, wow, that's amazing. Like they're almost double. And I go and look at it, and it's like $1,000. And I'm like, wait, what like
Yeah,
what are you
that's the
doing? Like,
it's a I think well I do think that's like an underrated thing. The problem with that though is it's like a bait and switch. There are some people, some individual creators, and some smaller companies that are doing kind of a bait and switch situation where it's like they'll do $1,000 goal. They actually need 3,000, but the like funded in however many minutes or however many hours is like a badge. Like they've been
mhm,
conditioned because there was like
yeah.
I think there was something to do with the algorithm like early in like pandemic era that like if you were funded in a certain amount of time, like they would boost you in the search results and in the recommendeds and stuff. So it's like there is this like leftover mindset. And it's like at the end of the day, like none of that was official. No one ever said that that was the thing. That was just like what people noticed. So
Yeah.
that's the tactic that a lot of people take. But that means that a book that has a what looks maybe like a drastically low goal, because I've seen some books where it's like $250.
Yeah.
I
What is
could
this?
find $250, bro. Like, why do I need Kickstarter for $250? Like,
I don't need
I could sell a couple Transformers or some shit. Like, I could find $250.
Yep.
Like,
Yep.
I could do a little buy a clearance item here, return it to another store,
Yeah.
thing. There's ways to get $250, but it's like, but they're like at $3,000 or whatever. But it's like they
Yeah.
really need $3,000, but it's like they want to be funded in 25 minutes or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I think setting a realistic goal where it's like this is how much we need to do this thing.
Yeah.
I think it makes way more sense, and I think it's more honest. Honestly, it's more upfront with your audience and with your customers, right? Like that. And the one thing I'm going to tell you that I tell every single creator that I have that I'm going to beat into the ground until there is no more violators of this rule.
Oh
Communication.
yeah.
If there's a delay, you got to tell people. It doesn't matter what it is, but it's like if I said, you said it's going to be, let's say fucking January. That's a random, January 15th. Cool. You don't make January 15th. January 10th, you should be like, I'm not going to make January 15th. Here's what's going on. Like, but just like be honest, because like I have books that I still haven't received that have been communicated well,
Yeah.
and it's been a year, 2 years in some cases. I don't give a shit. You're communicating with me.
Yeah.
I understand that life happens. People understand that life happens. So if you're, God forbid something happens where you're like, hey, I can't be working on this thing. Like I gotta handle some other shit. Like one person that I was following had some medical shit. One person had some fucking family death shit. Like
Yeah.
life is going to happen regardless
Yeah.
of if you have a Kickstarter or not. And I
Yeah.
think
Well,
most people understand that.
like I was late launching the Kickstarter. Like I, I was gonna launch it in February, and I ended up going to Bosnia for a funeral, and like I was like, nope, we're just gonna wait. And then
Right.
like it just, I don't want to be worrying about this. And yeah, like I said, it's a full-time job, and I appreciate that advice. Like you are not the first person to tell me that. And I have I've only backed like 5 or 6 Kickstarter projects, which I feel really bad
Oh
about.
shit. I don't even remember what that was like, sir. I'm a super backer.
That's
They
awesome.
they
Um,
advertise how much money I've spent. They're like, this motherfucker.
well,
Talk to him.
well, that would make sense that your wife is like telling you. Like, she's
No,
like,
you
hey,
know, you know what? It was a voluntary thing. It was a voluntary thing. She was like, I wanna like pay off a bunch of shit. I want to pay down some of these credit
yeah,
cards or whatever. And I was like, cool, bet. Like, I'm gonna swear off Kickstarter for the rest of the year.
yeah, yeah,
So,
yeah,
but you know
yeah.
what? Look, when I'm challenged on some shit that I know, I take an opportunity. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm a businessman. I'm a
You're
business.
that's right. That's great. Oh man, yeah. So no one has been late with anything. Like I've always gotten, the rewards, and half the time I'll like forget. Like I got this shirt the other day, and I was like, "What is this shirt? Like, how did I get this?" I'm like looking at the artwork, and I'm like, "What is this from?" And I like, search it, and I was like, "Oh, Kickstarter," and I was like, "Oh, I backed somebody. I totally forgot that
It's
like I was gonna get this random shirt well after I got the book." And like I 100% like that's the goal is to keep on the deadlines. I honestly, the thing that I'm most worried about is we're gonna get this like campaign successful, and then World War III is gonna start, and then I'm not gonna be able to print anything in China. And, like, so I'm just like, can we
God
just like,
forbid, man. That is
can we just, it's a legit worry. Like can we just
right.
not go
In
into like
2023, that's a legit worry. Jesus, what a fucking world we live in, brother. That is a
the last thing I need is to live through another war. So
oh yeah, yeah. I'm full like mentally, I'm fully uninterested in that. That is nah. I'm gonna go wherever I need to go to not be part of that bullshit. Like, oh, Brazil, cool. Guess I'm learning Portuguese. I don't give a fuck. Nah.
it can't be that hard.
Canada, I'm into it. Let's do it. Like, like,
You're almost there. You're pretty close.
yeah, right. I just like 4 hours, 5 hour drive or some shit. Like, I'm there. I'm Canada. Like, I am not interested in no more war bullshit. Like, dude, it's such a stupid thing. Like, this is what I was to say earlier. Like, the like having to explain where I'm from. It's like, oh, I had a like the biggest thing for the longest time was, oh, isn't that the place where there's a war? That was always what people said to me.
Yeah.
Isn't that where there's that war? And it's like, it's 2004, bro. There's no war there in fucking almost 10 years. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? But it's like I mean, like, you've been through it. The lack of education in the American education system is astonishing. But it's funny because then like years later, I like dug into it. And no shit, like the area has been contested like going back several hundred years. So like
Yeah.
not incorrect. There is always a war of some
Yeah.
sort. Like it's
Yeah.
it's just but it's like, and it's all fucking borders and bullshit. And it's like,
Yeah.
we are the same people. There's literally so I rap a little bit. And I've been putting together over literally I feel like I'm the only person who could legitimately say this, but I'm literally doing it for the love of the craft, because I'm not trying to sell it. I'm not trying to be a rapper. Like, I just really enjoy the art form. And
You got this like Vinny Paz thing going.
I feel you on that.
A huge Jedi Mind Tricks fan, but anyway, go on.
But like I have this idea. I want to do this rap where the premise is basically like, who the fuck cares what like what nationality, like what like your address doesn't fucking matter. Like, we all drink Turkish coffee, we all like eat baklava, which was created in fucking Greece. Like, all this shit that we all consume everywhere in the Balkans
Yeah.
came from all the fucking Balkans. Like, no one's the first one to have done it, and just have like no one's the first to have done all of it. We all cross contaminated centuries ago, and now here we are arguing over 50 fucking feet. It's dumb as shit.
Yeah, man, but don't call it burek sa sirom. It's sirnica. Those are fighting words, brother.
You're right. You're right. You're true. You're 100% right. It's Sinica. It's funny as shit to me when I read
This is the most
Burex
inside joke.
yeah. So it's a ridiculous inside joke. My wife gets it, which like we have that joke all the time because like some of the prepackaged shit that we buy is some of it's labeled one way, some of it's labeled the other way. It's fucking hilarious. And it's like hard to know who's gonna get offended when you go to like one of the restaurants and you're like, oh, let me get this, and they're gonna be like, you know, burek, what kind of burek? You know, like,
Yeah.
what do you mean, what kind of burek, motherfucker? There's only one kind of burek.
One kind of. Oh, I love it.
Oh man, but it's that's the thing. It's the whole. There's just like you said, I'm not interested in another fucking war. Let's hope that calmer and cooler heads prevail in all the bullshit that's happening out in the world right now. But so you are going to be you're going to be printing from China then.
I mean,
oh, okay. I don't know. I don't know if you've like lined up your fulfillment stuff.
So I looked at printing out of Canada, and I looked at printing with like I think they call Print Ninja, which is what another Kickstarter friend had suggested. The quality of their stuff was amazing. I think China gets a lot of flack for like, oh, the stuff is, but like, they've been doing it for so long. They have state of the art stuff. Like what does it matter? The only thing I don't like about it is the shipping time is insane
because they have to, on the container.
Yeah, or you pay a lot of money for the air freight or whatever. So again, like I don't want to. The costs were pretty much the same. I mean, you know, it's at whatever when you look at shipping essentially. So like it doesn't. There's really no wash. You know, they were super. They talked to me a lot. They were very. I mean, obviously they have probably a ton of business development people who are, you know, involved in sales and stuff like that, but they were great to talk to. The cost of printing is great. I think the cost of shipping is fine. I just, I know a lot of people get turned off when they hear that. And so
it's a weird thing to like get turned off on. Cause like realistically speaking, all the biggest Kickstarters are printing from China.
Yeah.
Because just the volume. The volume is it's impractical to do it locally. You could do it, but then there would be no profit margin, and it's not really what you're in this for. I mean, like you're in it for tell the story and like blah blah blah. Like let's in a capitalist society where we have to fucking pay for our food and shit, pay for the water bill. Like you need money. You're here for the money. So like you need to have some profit margin. Like it's not going to be a fucking lot. Like it's. I think a lot of people also have a misunderstanding about what the profit margin on a Kickstarter looks like. It's not a lot. Like you're not living off this for a couple years. You know, like
no.
Because
I love that people ask me, they're like, "Oh, what's that $25,000 going to?" And I'm like, "The book." I don't.
It's pretty much what it is. Yeah, like I have done the math. I've done the research on like little stuff, like little stuff. I'm looking at 100. So looking at 100 copies of a printed black and white novella. Right. It's only I think let's say about 100 pages. Right. That's what I estimated at 100 pages. Hardcover printed novella, so like black and white, nothing crazy. 100 copies, $1,000 and $1,200, like $1,200.
Yeah,
$1,200 for just 100 copies.
Yeah, just black and white,
and that's zero profit. That is just what it costs for them to exist in the world.
Yeah, and
that's not like the art. That's not the cover cost. That's not like shipping cost. Like none of that shit's factored in. So like. My book, when it goes to Kickstarter, I'm starting like best case scenario starting at 2K, and that's like super low end, or like 1,500 if I'm just like somehow somebody just agree to do the art for like back pay. Like I can't pay up front, but like you're willing to take whatever the money comes in from the Kickstarter kind of shit. Like it's gonna be crazy because it's like people unless you're Brandon Sanderson and you have an established brand and you drop 4 surprise novels that you wrote in an afternoon because you're a psychopath and make $1.5 million fucking dollars. No one's making like crazy, like life-changing profits on this shit. Because I was looking at something, I'm a fan of the Power Rangers. And I got it's actually right behind me.
Are you talking? Did you see that Boom?
Yeah, I have the first one. I have the first one. So I have the one that they keep referring to, the one that was like record setting and all this other shit, right? I have that, bro. That was like a $500 Kickstarter for me. Like I put $500 in that, right? I got 6 volumes, custom book, all hardcovers, right? Massive books. For me, $500 for those massive 6 volumes in that custom box, reasonable for me. I understand the value of it and I'm a huge fan. So like, I'm good. These motherfuckers have 3 books at minimum $275. Ooh. Fuck out of here, bro. Like, and it invalidates this box because they can't fit in here. So I got to get rid of this box anyway, put them on a shelf. So then I'm losing money from this. So it's even really a higher cost because I'm losing his box. I saw that and I was like, nah, I'm going to buy those individually when they come out. I'll buy them at retail price.
It drives me crazy that publishers as big as Boom can just go out and just they did that with Berserker, right? And Keanu Reeves of all people. And I was like, this is really skewing the.
I am of 2 minds about this. Okay, so I'm of 2 minds about this, and I'm glad that you brought that up because I tend to not want to bring that up because I feel like it's a hot button issue.
Also, Boom, if you see my book, like this is you want
to please publish this man's book, motherfuckers. Don't play the Balkan. Don't play the Balkan.
Wait, Ross Ritchie, right? Yeah. Sorry, Ross.
Here's the thing. I think that there is a lot to be said for the crowdfunding space being for independent people. Which I have really, really felt for a long time. Like when I first saw the first, it was either Boom or Dynamite. Maybe it was even Top Cow. I was kind of like, Silvestri got money. Like that motherfucker's been around. Motherfucker got money. Like I'm not worried about Silvestri eating tomorrow. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I was like, I'm not really sure why this motherfucker's on Kickstarter. Like, I don't really get this. Because that's what it was. When they did we want to release what was it called? Was it Cyberforce? I think it was Cyberforce. We want to release Cyberforce for free. That was their big thing. We want to release Cyberforce for free to everyone. So it was like we're kickstarting it so that we could pay for all the printing costs so that everyone can get this issue for free. And I was like, okay, that's an interesting approach. Cool, whatever. And I think that's where I got my Golgotha book. I don't know how to fucking say that word. But then unbeknownst to me, mind you, I didn't know because I just recently got, I think that's bookended right there, but I got Cyberforce off the one of their Kickstarters. But what I didn't know, they had been doing this for a fucking while. They had 3 volumes of fucking Witchblade out through that already. They had done the Darkness volumes already. I didn't know any of that shit until Witchblade volume 3 or 4 just dropped. So I just caught up on those because I do want to read those eventually. So I was like, fuck it, I'm just gonna go a little ham on that. But when I saw them, I was like, these motherfuckers got connections. Like, why does he need a Kickstarter? Because I'm like, this is for people who don't have the money. Like, this is for people who don't have a brand name. Like, Mark Silvestri is a brand name in this industry.
Yeah.
That's not like you say Mark Silvestri. Bro, if you were to say, I've got a Mark Silvestri variant, you double your fucking donation, like your funding tomorrow. You double your funding tomorrow.
Yeah.
Because that's a brand name, like Jim Lee, Alex fucking Ross. Like Alex Ross is doing a special edition Alex Ross version of the Jim Lee X-Men #1 connected cover. Bro, I saw that and I was like, I want to buy a comic book. I haven't bought a single issue comic book on purpose in fucking years. But it's like I saw that and I was like, fuck, I gotta buy that book. Because I love both of their shit. I love that connecting cover. So it's like you hit all the fucking points, but it's like that cachet is there.
Yeah.
If it was, I don't know, if it was Mayhew, who I kind of don't give a shit about, I'd have been like, meh, whatever, I don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
Because like for me, it would have needed to be that whole triumvirate of Jim Lee plus Alex Ross plus that cover. But it's like the cachet of that name matters. So like when Boom does, I was really on to that, like when they said Keanu Reeves doing a comic book, I was like, that's interesting. The Kickstarter, I was like, Keanu's got a whole ass bike company. He makes custom motorcycles for motherfuckers. Like
that are very expensive.
That motherfucker don't need money. Like,
and who co-wrote it? Matt Keynes, right?
Yeah. Kintz wrote it, and then Ron Garney's the fucking art. Ron goddamn Garney, who drew Captain America for like 43 fucking years.
Yeah, like, it's like I get it, and for what it's worth, like it's cool. Whatever, it looks cool. Who cares? I just
my thing is like, my concern is that it's like there's always like all these multifacets, right? Nothing's simple in fucking life. Nothing can be, but it's like the one direction is like this is going to take money away from indie creators, right? Because I've seen like somebody just recently, I forget his name. The book is Stray, and Stray, the campaign got canceled because it didn't hit a goal. It wasn't going to hit its goal, so he canceled it. And I was looking at it and I was like, damn, because I'm like, I know his other campaigns succeeded. I've got a few of his books. So I was like, I don't understand why it didn't fucking blow. Like it didn't even blow, but like why it didn't fund. Like just hit a goal. And then he shared his numbers of like how many backers he had, and it was progressively declining. And then I look at day one of Boom Power Rangers, three hardcovers for $275. Their goal of 25 grand is quintupled in less than a day.
Yeah.
They were over it. They were over $250,000 before the end of the first day. And I was like, well, I mean, like, but like if this wasn't there, would Stray have gotten funded?
Yeah.
Like I'm curious, I don't know. But the other flip side of that, because I'm a Libra, so I can see, the size of the shit. I don't believe none of that shit, but I just always like to like flip back on that. But I always see kind of like both sides of the story. Like how many people got on Kickstarter for the first time because of Keanu Reeves? How many people got on Kickstarter for the first time because of Brandon Sanderson?
Sure.
And then like once you're there, once you're in the ecosystem, you get the recommendations and you're like, oh, what's this? Let's click on this. The potential is there that like money that wasn't going to go to an indie creator is going to go to an indie creator. And then the third angle I can look at it from is a suggestion that I had. I did a whole podcast about this a while back, just an episode where I like, here's how you fucking make more shit, Marvel and DC, really. Giving the fans the option to pay for the shit ahead of time lets you decide what you can make. I was thinking of it more in terms of like, give us the pitch. Like, here are the 3 pitches we have. Make it 3 tiers on Kickstarter. Whatever fucking makes its initial budget, where they're going to make that book, we'll get our digital copies or whatever, and then they'll print the book. Because my thing is like, like I said, I'm a completionist. So like I have the 2 volumes of the 19. This is such a stupid fucking book to make reference to, because it's fine, but it's not great. It's not a great fucking series at all. Regardless, I have the 1997 Kazar book. I feel embarrassed. I feel embarrassed saying that out loud.
That's
but
funny.
They did 2 collected editions, and then because it's like, I don't know what the fuck was going. I mean, it was the 90s. It was Marvel, so a lot of shit was going on. But so they did this I feel like I'm going to be incorrect on this, but I feel like it was Mark Waid and the Kubert brother, Andy Kubert and Mark Waid did this book. Fairly confident it was Mark Waid. Regardless, they did this whole run, and it's like the story finished. Like they did their thing, and the story finished, and then they like ran the book for like 5 or 6 more issues, or 4 issues or whatever. That's not collected. And that pisses me to fuck off because I'm a completion. I want the whole shit. So it's like if Marvel was like, hey, we need X amount of motherfucker. Like here, if you want this printed, here's how much it's gonna cost, bare minimum. I would be on Twitter, Instagram every day.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, I want this fucking book.
Yeah.
Because I'm like in certain series, like cross-gen, the fact that they started back to like what we were saying earlier, like a manga style, that they started cross-gen Tales or whatever it is, Tales from cross-gen.
Yeah.
I was like, oh shit, are they gonna do it finally? Because cross-gen never finished. The
Yeah.
original cross-gen never finished. That shit pissed me off because
No, I know.
really loved that shit. I read
That was
all of
amazing.
Sigil and I was like, oh shit, the last volume wasn't collected. So I was like, let me like, I'm not gonna lie, I bootlegged it. I'm like, let me bootleg the last group of books because I'm like, I don't want singles, but I want to read it. I get to the penultimate fucking issue because now that I know what that word means, second to last issue, there was no last issue. However, was it Carl Kessel, I think was the writer, has the script online. So I was able to finish that book because I read the script.
What?
Sigil, what is it, 43 or whatever the fuck it is?
Yeah.
The last, but I was like, the script exists. Dale Eaglesham is working. Give that motherfucker some money so he can write that, draw that last book. I don't know. They did that with what was it? Ghostwriter 89. The 1990s Ghostwriter book, the Danny Ketch Ghostwriter book, just got canceled. One issue from being completed, like from a storyline being completed. And so that they put out in like 2007, bro, they put out Ghostwriter like king size or something like that. I forgot what they called it, but it was like the second to last issue, and then they put in the rest of the book. I was like, oh shit. And I was like, just do this. Like cross-gen is almost completely collected. So when they started doing Tales, cross-gen Tales or whatever, I was like, oh shit, are they gonna put out issue 8? Because that would be fine. I'd be fine with that. If they did it this way and like gauge some response and gauge some reactions and like put out the first issues and whatever, put out, what is it, 40 issues, 50 issues of fucking cross-gen Tales, and then hit me with the last like all new stories to finish the fucking book. Because it's like, out of the last issue of Sigil, because that's the only one that I've read completely, that went into Negation War. Negation War wasn't even fucking done. So it's like the crossover that it all led to wasn't finished. So it's like there's this like dangling shit. But it's like, if you as Marvel were like, hey, we're gonna go on Kickstarter and we're gonna say it's gonna cost us this much money to finish cross-gen, because they own all of it now, I'd be in on that shit. In a heartbeat, without even thinking about it. I would explain that shit to my wife after the fact.
Where's this money?
If they drop that shit tomorrow, I'd be like, nah, I gotta do this. Sorry, honey. I'll figure some shit out. I'll sell a statue or something. Like, I'll get rid of something.
They gave it to me.
Like, it's gotta happen. Like, it's gotta happen. Because there is something to be said, I think, about like letting the fans decide what they want, right? Because right now, especially the mainstream, the big books are like, how can we get this money out of people? And I think if they were to go to instead of motherfuckers trying to pitch shit to the ownership, pitch it to us. We the ones that matter. I don't give a shit if Joe Quesada doesn't like something, or if fucking Jim Lee doesn't like something. If I like it, make that shit. If enough of me likes it, if we all out here want, I don't know, a new authority book, like a proper authority book, which they really should do. Like, if let's say we all want a proper authority book, unrelated to fucking DC, or even related to DC, make it like super secretive. They're all in the background and shit. Dude, that I might even want that more. But like, if they were like, we don't know if we want to do this, here's a Kickstarter or whatever fucking platform they want to use, or do it on their own shit. It doesn't matter. Like, they have the fucking money. Do it on their own shit. And it's like, if you want this, here's where you gotta, I mean, shit, they've got DC Infinite. Go on DC Infinite. You gotta, that kind of feels a little shitty. You gotta subscribe. Like, I'm saying, there's ways to do it. It's like but like, set it up in a way where it's like, here's this thing. Here are the pitches we've received this month or year or whatever. What do y'all want? Set up the tiers. Each tier is for one of those books. And if it's like, I don't know, a single issue, or say a whole collection, like, I want to prepay for the trade.
Yeah, that's it.
I'll pay $30 right now for you to give me that trade in 6 to 8 months or whatever. Cool. They get the money ahead of time. They don't have to worry about making it up in singles.
Yeah.
Seems simple to me. And then it's like they're also like, I think now they're in, at least Marvel. I don't really know how much DC is doing it, but they're embracing the digital medium a lot more. Marvel.
Mhm.
They have the Avengers, I think it's Avengers Assemble or Avengers Forever, Infinity comic. They have the X-Men Unlimited Infinity comic, which is brilliant. Which is exactly what I said they should do. So I feel like maybe somebody at Marvel's watching my shit. Uh, so it's like, but like that should be like the digital space should be where they try out new talent. Hey, you want to write for Marvel? Fuck all this approval bullshit. Give me a single 15 or whatever, however many pages they have in a webtoon format, because that's the other thing. Back to what we were saying before about embracing the medium.
Yeah.
I read one of the Spider-Man Infinite comics, and there's a moment where it literally says, lock your screen rotation, because as you read this book, as you scroll, he starts turning and the whole story turns. So you end up reading the whole thing upside down. It was a good story up until that point. It was a great story at that point.
Yeah.
When it hit that, I was like, this is fantastic. They did this. This was purposeful. This wasn't just like a gimmick of the medium. They did this the way they crafted this whole story out. It was leading to this because it was like the second to last, the last issue. And I was like, shit, this is so good. Like, this is exactly what I'm looking for. When you have this format, use it. Like in the first X-Men Unlimited, they kind of used it. It was like you kept going and Wolverine was falling out of the space station, whatever. And I was like, okay, cool. This is fun. But I was like, kind of a basic implementation of the medium. When I hit that Spider-Man issue, I was like, damn, this is exactly what I want from this. So it's like
That's cool. I'll check that out.
Yeah, so like they should be hitting these people. Like, if I'm like, hey, I want to write for Marvel, they're like, cool, get in queue, submit a script. If it's good enough, we'll produce a fucking digital issue. You'll get this much money or whatever. And we'll go from there. Like if motherfuckers love that shit,
just keep going.
Yeah, we'll talk. We'll talk. But it's like, I feel like, because it's like I've written X-Men fanfic. I am ready at any given point to jump in and run the X-Men universe. Like, give me Hickman's job. It's gonna be game over, bitches. Like, I got shit in the bank.
That's
but
awesome.
It's like, there's something that like something to be said. Like, I think there's certain characters, especially if you have a really deep connection to them, you're gonna come in with really good perspective. Like, I think that the digital space, when DC did I think it's called Wayne Family Adventures webtoon, I don't get that shit at all. For me, I'm like, I don't need them to have this like happy-go-lucky family adventure kind of shit. But there are so many people that's the thing that they take out of the Bat family. It's like this like found family, right? This like put together hodgepodge family that like they relate to and they want to see more fun, warm adventures of. I don't get that, but there are people that want it. So they were like, fuck it, we're just gonna make it for them.
Yeah.
We're gonna hire somebody who is in that genre. The art is very webtoons. Like it's like it's simple, but like it works. It works for the platform. And it's like that's how you bring in more people. That's how you get people involved into your shit again, because it's like when you give the people what they want, because now is the thing, because of the internet. Shout out to Childish Gambino. Because of the internet, people's opinions are more varied than ever, because the best and worst thing about the internet is that it allowed everyone to have an opinion.
Yeah.
Because
I can't wait for somebody to shit on my book.
Oh no, dude, you gotta love your haters. You gotta love your haters. We should do an episode of just your haters. When people are like, "Oh, this book is whatever," we're just gonna bring those comments on and we're gonna dissect them. We're gonna dissect.
Bring the receipt.
yeah, dude. I'm down for that. We should do that 100%. Dude, that's just like, but like, you gotta love the haters. Like, bro, I've been doing YouTube for almost 10 years now in various forms. And it's like, I've been called fat so many times. It's like, motherfucker, do you think I don't know? Do you think I'm confused?
That's awesome.
So my response is almost always like, oh my goodness, am I overweight? I didn't know. Holy shit. I must
What?
tell,
So many jobs?
I must inform my family.
That's
But
awesome.
no, man, haters are like the best part of internet culture, is because like
Yeah.
people hate on shit for no reason.
Yep.
Like there are people who hate on shit for valid reasons, but it's like there are people who hate on shit for no reason, and it's like it's baffling but entertaining as fuck.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, the book is so exciting, dude. I'm super psyched to read the whole thing. I had one very important campaign related question for you, and I felt I was gonna ask it like 14, I don't know, questions ago, but we kept going into other things, but that's fine. You don't have a digital only tier. Is that a conscious choice? And if not, add that shit.
I don't have the digital only. There's just like the digital preview, and then I'm even printing that because of how much I like print. But I mean, if that's something that people are interested in, there's no reason why I couldn't add it. Yeah, but it is, yeah,
I
it's
recommend it.
definitely,
I spent all of 2022 championing every single person I found to make sure they have digital collections. Uh, I I literally, if you go on my Twitter right now at Indie Hype Man, you can see my pinned tweet says that do not talk to me if you don't have a digital only tier, and if you have a back catalog, a digital catch up tier. Uh, so I wanted to bring that up because like you have the digital preview, because I saw that and I was going to get the physical copy regardless, so it doesn't matter to me, you know. Uh, but I was just like, oh, like I just like happened to catch like, oh, it's 24 page and then it's the physical. I'm like, there's no digital tier. Oh no, like we got to bring this up. So yeah, I think digital is free money, especially in the indie space. I am someone who, especially uh for stuff that I haven't seen before, stuff that I haven't heard of before, if I see something and I'm like, I don't know, but it's like I'll be honest, like if I didn't know you, and I feel like I don't really like know you, like we've just talked online, but it's like if I weren't acquainted with you at all, and I just came across your Kickstarter and it was
yeah,
like $20, I'd be like, $20 for 300 something pay, like without even reading it, kind of like I'd be like, oh, the art looks great, $20, fuck it. Like
yeah,
it's kind of a, like a fuck it point of like I'm interested enough, and it's like up to $20, especially for digital stuff, especially when you look at the like value prop of how much you're getting versus how much you're paying. Because I've seen a lot of people, like, don't get me wrong, I've seen a lot of people try to charge like $20 for like a 60-page like single issue
yeah.
digitally, and I'm like, nah. You know, it's like there is like there's a cross section there for sure. So, but it's like a $20 digital only section for your book, I think would be a great kind of catch all, where it's like people who aren't sure, who might pull away.
Yeah,
That's my recommendation to you.
yeah,
And I'm gonna throw this in. I'm gonna tell you this because I feel like you know, but I'm gonna tell you and I'm gonna tell everyone that's listening, you can edit your Kickstarter after it's launched. You just can't
yeah,
edit anything that is already backed.
yep,
Uh, or no, that's it. You can't edit anything that
yeah,
already has backers. That's it.
yeah.
You can add tiers, you can edit tiers that don't have any backers. So like, oh fucking wild, kids. There's
I
no
did it.
reason anybody that doesn't have like, especially if you have a back catalog, digital catch up tier, you
Yeah,
should have all your books available either as a all in one tier or all available as add-ons. And if you have like a trade, that should be available as an add-on to your digital issues.
yeah,
Everything should be cross-pollinated. I think that is, it's like I think people kind of get in this mindset of like people who buy physical are going to buy physical, people who buy digital are going to buy digital,
yeah.
and I think there's a misunderstanding there, and I think that is an opportunity that people are missing out on. Because I have gone to people, I still won't bring this up, but I have receipts, and I'm debating whether I'm going to bring it up because I feel like I'd love to have him on and then bring up the receipts.
So,
But I went to a guy who had a campaign, a campaign recently, and he didn't have like he has a back catalog, several, like 2 or 3 trades. And then he had 3 issues of a new series that was just finishing up, but no physical trade of the new series. And I was like, hey, is there going to be a trade of this? And he's like, I don't know. I'd love to do a hardcover at some point, but who knows? So I was like, all right, cool. And then I'm looking at it and I was like, all right, cool. Like, how about adding the physical trades as add-ons to the digital tier for this book? And this motherfucker hits me like, I didn't really feel like I was offensive in any way. Like, I was just like, how about adding this as this? Motherfucker's like, who are you to tell me how to structure my campaign? My add-ons are fine. I was like, that's a weird way to respond to someone asking for a way to give you money.
Yeah.
That's a really strange way to respond. I'll be honest with you. So, but it's like when that first response came through, I was so flabbergasted that I screenshotted my notification screen.
Oh, that's funny.
And then he deleted the tweets. He deleted his tweets after I said that's a weird way to respond to someone who's asking to give you money.
Everything's forever on the internet, my friend.
Right? But I was just like, I keep, every time I look through my photos, I'm like, I kind of want to delete that, but I'm like, I kind of don't want to delete that because I kind of want to get into a position where he forgets. Somehow I want to get him on the podcast and then be like, so about that time where you told me to go fuck myself.
That's awesome. Yeah, no, I mean that's a great idea. I just added like literally last night, or maybe technically this morning. I think it was like midnight ish. I was talking to a friend who's a 3D printer, and we had been throwing the idea back and forth of 3D printing the ship.
Yes.
And like we had kind of mentioned it. I think I mentioned like possibly doing it in the video, and I was like, you know what, let's just do it. Like I'll pay for all the filament. Like, well, I have a 3D model of it. We're gonna add a bit. Right. Yeah, so we're gonna do. The idea is, or the concept is that we'll do a big kind of shelf size one for kind of the bigger backers, and then we're gonna do smaller ones for some of the early backers. And so, like, yourself and
that's awesome. Fuck yeah.
Not very expensive to make, to be honest with you. Like, so I don't want to make it too crazy, but I think how I'll differentiate it is like, we'll get some like hand painted ones. I'll break out the old Warhammer skills and
oh shit, okay,
paint them all nice and pretty. And I mean, I love having just the idea of having my own gets me very excited. But anyway, so I added that to the tiers, and so I can ensure that you can totally edit those as long as somebody hasn't already backed it, which kind of messed me up. I was like, oh man, somebody already, that's the tier I wanted to put this on. So I was like, I'm just gonna do it to everybody. Like, we're gonna give it, we're gonna separate like the levels, but of how big they are, but I would like to be able to give one to everybody. So whether that's like a little keychain size one or something slightly bigger, I think we're gonna make it happen. So, plus, who doesn't want a little toy of an airship?
Fuck yeah, dude! Fuck yeah! Fuck yeah, dude! Hell yeah! So, that's super cool. Like, what a way to like enhance your campaign, especially like after it's already launched. Like that's dope. See, like you're considering the medium, like the opportunity is there to expand the offering, and it's not just like, because I've seen people who are like, oh, like drop an update of, hey, everyone is doing this, right, or whatever. But it's like when you see it as like, oh, your pledge says this, like that's kind of dope.
The only thing, and I'll apologize to anybody who's on the Kickstarter right now and you don't see any cool graphics of what the rewards look like. Those are coming. I literally was working on them last night. I just like again, it's so much work to managing the Kickstarter and then to like, and I know I've had a lot of time up until the Kickstarter's launched to make those, but like literally I just
you're also drawing the comic and have a life. Like there's a whole lot to it, man. There's a whole lot to it. Completely understandable, bro.
So there will be cool, I mean, I see other campaigns do it, and it really draws me in, and I totally see the value of it. So I'll in addition to adding the digital version for $20, I'll update reward like images, the tiers, so you guys can see what all that stuff looks like, or what it could potentially look like. And to kind of round all of that off and go back to the printed ship, that is being printed right now, and so I'm hoping to have the video of me playing with it in a couple of days.
Oh, that's
So,
awesome. That's awesome.
so I think that might entice people a little more. It's a I love that. I had so much fun doing all the concept art for the ships. I can't wait to show you the kind of the bad MFer, if you will, the big kind of armada flagship of Emperor Thane is like one of my probably favorite designs I've ever done, and I no one has seen that. It's in a sketchbook. You haven't seen it in the stuff I sent you.
Okay, okay,
I
okay.
I
My
think that
interest is officially peaked.
yeah, I have I think I drew it in like a moleskin and ballpoint pen of all things.
Wow.
Like started doing, and I was like, this is it. This doesn't need to go any further. I just need to. So
First try kind of shit.
I mean, there's been a little bit of changes, but those changes were in reference to other ships. So like once I designed the Cloud Ripper, which is kind of the ship the Sky Pirates that you kind of meet in the prologue, um, I it kind of changed the design of Emperor Thane ship, but not in any sort of way outside of making it wider and more scary. So, like, uh, so it wasn't drastic change, but more of a presence, right? Like this needs to be bigger. It needs to be more ornate. So I want to print one of those, but I don't have a 3D model of it, and I don't know. I mean, my buddy who does all the 3D modeling that so far we've used in the book, which has been a way for me to kind of circumvent some of the I don't know how to term it. Just it helps me save time. So essentially, the process is I have a 3D model of the ship and of the interior of the ship, and what I do,
Ooh.
yeah. And so what I do is I take that into Clip Studio and I move it around how I need it to, because it has like a kind of a mini 3D engine in there. And then I just like this is my shot, and then I effectively just trace over it, which probably sounds like cheating, but it's my design. Like
Yeah, it's your design and the work was done. Like it's
yeah,
I think especially in 2023 with the amount of like AI and all this other shit that's out there, I think the concept of like cheating or the concept of like tracing is such a nebulous idea at this point. Like we are so beyond those like basic concepts. Like
yeah,
there are people who are busting out whole ass comic books through Mid Journey. So like
yeah.
not having to draw a single
I,
line. Like
when I was in art school, I remember one of my life drawing teachers had said he told me this kind of anecdotal story about Norman Rockwell of all people, and I think
okay,
somebody I can't remember who the other artist was came into Norman Rockwell's studio and he saw like hundreds of photographs that he had taken of a model that he was using the lighting and stuff to do this painting. He's like, "You're a fraud. You're a hack." Could you imagine saying that to Norman
what
Rockwell?
the fuck?
Just because he was using
Wow,
photographs. So that was,
that's wild.
yeah. So
I
in
mean,
this day and
that'd be like telling Alex Ross that he's a fraud because he uses models. Like, what the fuck?
yeah, yeah. So like, the concept of the ship came out of my brain. All of the sketches of the interior of the ship were all drawn by me at some point. And it just makes it so much easier to be able to like drop that into a panel and just put it at the angle that I want. And then I have to draw the characters in there into that space by hand anyway.
Right.
So,
I think I mean like that kind of goes back to like man. I think look, I don't want to like knock on some shit here. I don't want to like jinx nothing in the future, but like this would be a great fucking show.
yeah,
And it's like but you're taking animation principles, right? Like you look at even classic Disney, like the background is a fucking painted matte piece. Like
yeah,
somebody painted a whole ass background and then the animation is done on top of that. Like that, you're taking the same principles. Like this is a piece you've already done. It's just that now in modern technology, you can rotate it and set the scene.
Yeah.
Right. Like,
Yeah.
do you think if you went back to 1992 and we're like, hey, for this like wild jungle scene in Lion King, we're just gonna give you a 3D model of the entire jungle, and then you can just like rotate, don't have to draw the backgrounds. Like,
we're gonna move a virtual
you,
camel through it.
yeah, you'd have to just like, you'd hear such an like explosive sigh of relief throughout the entire fucking studio. It's like, we'd have to draw the backgrounds. Oh my god. Like,
Yeah.
It's like, that'd be fun. Fucking like you're using the technology of the day. Like it's not even something that's like crazy out there. You're not like fucking manifesting shit from fucking Mid-Journey with with art that's not yours, right? Like that's a whole other conversation we could have. Like, AI art is. I really want to do a whole ass episode about AI art with like a proper panel of people. Like, I want to have a fight about this. Like, I am so dead middle on it that I really want to get somebody who's like super pro AI, super anti AI, and just like have it just hashed out.
You should, that'd be good.
But it's
get like some of the programmers on, get some prompt writers, get some artists, real,
it's a whole thing. But like using a 3D model, especially a 3D model that you designed, it's not like you were like, hey, random fiber 3D artist, give me an airship, and then just like whatever they came up with, you just went with it. Like you came up with the work, you came up with the concept. Like, it's all there. Like, no, it's absolutely a valid method. Like it's like, first of all, efficiency. You're doing 330 plus pages. I don't want to hear nobody's bullshit about nothing, man. Like, you're doing 300 plus pages. Stop it. Like, you're doing a ton of work already. If you could save a couple fucking hours by not having to draw the interior of a fucking airship, God bless you.
Yeah, it's been a huge help. And then the side effect of it was being able to make cool 3D prints. So I'm excited. I think it adds value to the Kickstarter. I think a lot of people are going to really dig them. I plan on having at least a couple at the Denver Fan Expo this summer. So I think that's in June. Along with the printed previews, and obviously, if let me rephrase that. When we fund the book, I plan on having a lot of little goodies like that. So I've never been very good at tabling at cons. I always like go to a con and I'm like, I have like 7 prints, and like, but you can commission me to sketch something for you, and I'm just sitting there like at the table by myself all weekend. But I want to go all out. I want to have like a good presentation, and be able to continue to quote unquote sell the book after we've funded the campaign, and as I'm working on it. So and like you said, a big point of doing this campaign is to complete the book so that I can have something to sell to potential publishers, or even sell the IP. No, well, I'll I don't want to sell the IP, but like license. There you go. Try and get something made in a different medium. I would the amount of people that I would murder to have an anime or animated show of this.
Right, but like, real talk, man. Like, I had a conversation. This is completely fucking tangent off what you just said. The amount of times I've had a conversation with somebody that I'm like, would you like kill a man for like X amount of dollars? It's like, there's a lot of shit I could do with a certain amount of dollars. So like, the higher the number, the more live and on national TV I would do it. Like, stop it. Like, you just tell me, like, I got a lot of like sketchbooks and notebooks full of ideas. I got a lot of shit I could be making with a certain amount of dollars.
I would, I love, part of the reason why I chose this song that's in like our Kickstarter preview is because that type of music reminds me of, certain shows that kind of fueled the story, right? And so like, I've said this to the Fat Rat, the guy who produced the song, and Laura Bram, the vocalist on the track. Like, I was like, if this ever gets turned into a show, you have to do the soundtrack, because like it just doesn't make any sense for me to like it just, I can't, in my head I can't hear it in any other way, right? Like,
that's what's up.
And like whatever that means. Again, not to, yeah, we don't want to jinx anything. We got to get a book made first. We got to get a campaign crowdfunded, but it would, when I write it and when I draw it, that's kind of how I think about it too. I'm like, how can I blend the animation and comic side of me and put those things together and get it on page, because I do, I've storyboarded professionally. I studied production and layout design. It's in art school. And so I, for what it's worth, my, initial goals were to get into animation, but that's a difficult field to get into. In some ways more difficult than comics, but also in some ways easier. But you've got to be on, the West Coast, or
Right.
put roots down in Colorado, and it is what it is. But now with like remote work and stuff, it's something that I definitely am chasing after. Getting more storyboarding work, and I think of my comic panels as I think a storyboard artist would think of a movie scene. So it's I think it would be a natural progression, and but the only way I would ever do it is if I got to storyboard the whole thing.
Makes sense. Makes sense. It's like realistically, like the book is half that anyway. Like it's half the
Yeah.
storyboard anyway. Right? You just got to kind of think about some stage direction and camera direction and shit like that.
Yeah.
No, dude, let's focus on the book now. If you
Book
don't,
now.
yeah,
Exactly.
but absolutely one day, yeah. Look, you gotta look at it this way. If the Tremblay brothers finally signed a fucking deal to get us another fucking installment of SWAT Cats, which don't get me wrong, big fan, love the SWAT Cats. But if them motherfuckers got that shit finally signed
Yeah.
years after they fucking kickstarted
Decade.
a preview, it's all possible, my friend. It is all
Yeah.
possible. We
Well, I
are
look at like Stan's the guy who did Yojimbo, Sagi, sorry, Sagi Yojimbo, right? And he just had like a Netflix show, and it was kind of Usagi adjacent. But
right.
like, but I'm a huge fan. Like,
But it's like that license got him a couple, got a couple dollars out of that,
yeah, good for him. Like, that's cool. I mean, that shouldn't be the end goal of making a comic, and
Sure.
for what it's worth, it isn't for me. The end goal is to have a pulp. Like, I want, if it just stopped at me printing them and getting our crowdfunding goal, that's it. I'd be, right. We got the money.
Right.
We paid Amaya. We paid the printers. Done. That's
Right.
it. And all. And maybe we do book two. Cool, great. But if the next step after that is somebody picks it up and we get actual publishing, we get actual distribution, I would die the happiest person on earth. And it doesn't need to go any further than that. But yeah. So.
Fuck yeah, man. Fuck yeah. So if you as a listener or watcher are not backing this currently, you make sure you go to the comments in the down below on YouTube, or in the comment, or in the show notes on the Spotify app or your favorite app that you're looking at. Make sure you go back this. Maybe nope, I should have done that ahead of time. So I should have made a bit.ly to make it simple. But regardless, look for it. The Crystal Compass on Kickstarter. If you don't have a link or you can't see a link, the Crystal Compass on Kickstarter. Absolutely back that book without question. Because I told you to, and because the artwork is fantastic, and because the story is fantastic. I'll be honest with you, man. Like I had two more like pop into my head, like as you've been talking about it, two more like visceral like recollections that really reminded me of Digimon, the original Digimon, and oh my god, he just won an Oscar.
Fraser, Brendan Fraser.
No, he just won the supporting actor.
Oh, oh my gosh.
What is that movie? I'm a
Yeah, no,
bad person. I made my wife watch this like 3 years ago for the first time ever. She never watched it. Oh my God. Anyway,
Well,
you know what I'm talking about. The pirates, Willie's pirate treasure.
oh, the Goonies?
Goonies, yes, Goonies.
Oh,
Jesus, I couldn't think of
really?
it.
That's cool. No one has said, well, neither of those things. No one has said Digimon. And actually, I'm surprised at that one because that might be like one of the subconscious ones. Because yeah, they totally get pulled into the
That's well, like it's like a ragtag group of friends that get pulled
yeah.
into another dimension. Like it, like as you were describing more of it, it's like, oh, they find all this stuff. Like, yes, and it's like you get the bad guy. It's there. Like it's all like it's it goes back to like nothing's original, but it's all like how you approach it. And like at the end of the day, and this is something I've talked about in the magazine before. Um, Regardless of all the other bullshit, right? Like there's 15 fucking AI bots that can write a story and another 15 that can draw it. It can never replace your personal, unique perspective.
Yeah.
Like, and at the end of the day, right? Like you writing that story and me writing a similar story, it's still going to be different. Like we have very similar backgrounds.
Yeah, very similar.
You're probably one of the few people in the world that I know that has a very similar background to me. But it's like, like your family dynamic is different. My family dynamic is different. So like it all comes into play.
Yeah.
The uniqueness of this story comes from the fact that you're the one making it, you're the one writing it, and no one else can tell that story. And this is literally my I don't know if you saw it on my email, but this is literally my signature on my email is you're the one who tells your story. No one else can do that. There's no one else that can tell your story. And the fact that this is reminiscent of certain things from our childhood, from other people's childhoods, just speaks to some core like elements of storytelling that are in everything. They're in so many different things. But this is again your take on certain things, your perspective on these concepts. And that's never going to be the same. It's always going to be different. Damn. I feel like I've drank so much. So let's see, here we are.
Woo.
Here we are. It's not that bad. It's not that bad. Granted, to be fair, this was also vodka and Coke.
Oh, jeez.
I don't know why the fuck I decided that tonight I was gonna get drunk, but here we the fuck are. It has been absolutely fantastic talking to you.
Yeah, this has been amazing.
This has been so dope. We gotta hang out next time in college. Like the fact that you're in Denver, like
Yeah.
dude, absolutely.
I mean, I'd love to go to Chicago too. So both sides and
bro, I was gonna say you were talking about you got a show in June. August we got Fan Expo Chicago. I'm looking for people to share a table with. So let's do it. That's something I'm down. I'm down. Because that gives me that gives me an end date. That means I gotta fucking finish editing my book. So I'm 100% down for that.
Yeah, I would love that. That'd be amazing. Yeah, let's we also have to plan our Balkan podcast now too. So
yeah, no, that's what I was gonna tell you. So the whole ass conversation we have later, but I was gonna say we could call it Brate moje, ovo je Balkan. That's like my favorite line from all the fucking pop songs, which is from Samo Jako. From yeah, I fucking love that line because I'm like, that's it. That's the whole premise. It's all of it. Like
I love that. That's awesome.
Right,
you're like the only. I think you're the only person
my wife makes fun of me. Like she listens to it, but she makes fun of me. My cousin's like, "This is not fucking music." My other cousin's like, "I fucking hate it." Like,
it's so good.
It's so fucking. I love it. I fucking love it. Like I am still listening. By the way, the fact that Frankie put out an album called 2020 right before everything that happened in 2020. Fucking madness. Like that's some fucking cosmic shit. Anyway, that's gonna be it for this one, folks. Absolute blast had by all, I think. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Make sure you check out the Crystal Compass on Kickstarter. If you are not already backing it, make sure you go back it. We've got a digital tier that's gonna be going up ASAP.
I'm literally gonna go do it right now.
And you've got to have your options. All options are the key to all Kickstarters, in my opinion. So, and then you guys are everyone backing at a physical level is getting a fucking tiny 3D print. Go get that shit. That's awesome. I didn't even know that was happening. That was awesome.
Yeah, I was like, we just have to do it. I can't
It's
have
so
people
cool.
not getting it.
So cool. So cool.
Thanks, Dalibor. It was awesome, man. I loved it.
Absolutely
Appreciate
great talking to you.
Before they go living, my vision is vivid. I wander the places they marvel. The shit that I'm talking is low-key a novel. Yeah, I'm so lit, but a lonely spark. About to end game like Tony Stark.